And the base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a fantastic Friday because MLS is back. We've got games tonight. We've got Atlanta United in league play tomorrow. We got 2 games on national English language TV, big-time broadcast, ABC and Fox this weekend. Feels like a big start to the season in Major League Soccer. We'll get you ready for that. Rough rundown of the way it will go today. First half hour, we'll get caught up on everything around the world. We'll talk Europa League from yesterday. Arsenal fans, we can talk about your club, and you won't be upset about it. That's good. Manchester United advances as well. We'll get into that. 9:30, we'll get into the first week of MLS. We'll run through all the other games and things you need to know. 10 o'clock, Mike Conti will join us to talk Atlanta and Orlando. 10:30, it is almost 100% confirmed. We've got a special guest. You know how it is. You take that second shot of the vaccine. You kind of wait to see what the after effects are going to be. I'm waiting on the update. I think we're going to be good. We'll have that announcement when that happens. And then we'll get caught up on the Fantasy League and all of the other things. It is very, very busy. If you haven't checked out the SDH network lately, there is a great season kickoff roundtable from last night. John Nelson hosted. It included all of the big-time big wigs from South Georgia Tormenta, Greenville Triumph, Charleston Battery. John, how do you think that went?
I think it was, for me, it was...
Sell it to me, John. Sell it to me.
It was a fantastic mix of front office talent from a lot of the flagship stations here in the footprint, and they got to pull back the curtain a little bit on what the last 12 months has been like for them to try to manage through a USL League One season, a USL Championship season, since we had Mike Kelleher, the chief operating officer of the Charleston Battery on, Doug Irwin, vice chair and chief branding officer of the Greenville Triumph was there, and owner and president of South Georgia Tormenta, Darren Van Tassel, was on as well. And to have the three of them on and their exchange of ideas and philosophies and approaches about what the sport has meant to each of their respective footprints and their teams and what they went through the last 12 months to get ready for this season, with League One already starting officially, and it kicking off this weekend down in Statesboro, 3 weeks away from the beginning of the USL Championship season. But to have Mike, Doug, and Darren on, just to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, it was a very, very fun conversation, very enlightening conversation, recommended for everyone who logs onto the network.
I love it!
There we go.
That!
Yeah, you were starting to, downplay it at the beginning. Come on. Let's not do this. It's a fantastic Friday, my friend.
It's a fantastic Friday.
It's going to be loud around here, too. It's like halfway a war zone around my apartment complex. It's always fun when you get the email at about 4 o'clock the day before that they're going to be working on the roof for the next few days, and you probably shouldn't park where you normally park. So, it's been a little frantic Friday, but it will be a loud Friday, and we'll see how that goes. Gwen is not a fan of frantic Fridays at all. She is trying to find space underneath the table, underneath my feet, anywhere she can find to feel safe. Yes, it is going to be one of those days. I apologize in advance. Okay, last night, CONCACAF Champions League, no surprises. Columbus advances 1-0. Monterrey advances. 5 MLS teams go through. First time that has ever happened. It is huge, huge, huge. We'll talk about the Columbus side of things when we get into the preview. They did have a few issues from last night, an injury with Aiden Morris that doesn't look like it's going to be very good. Europa League, Manchester United advanced like we thought they would. Roma got through Ajax, and Erik ten Hag said that Ajax was the best team in the competition. You're not in the semifinals, bruh. I don't really know what to tell you. Roma gets through. It'll be Manchester United and Roma. It will be Villarreal and Arsenal. Unai Emery gets a chance to get his revenge on Arsenal, and Arsenal got revenge for a lot of things in going to Slavia Prague and demolishing them 4-0. Steven Gerrard said he enjoyed watching the match from home. Jarrett Smith, did you enjoy watching this match from home?
I didn't watch it from home. I was busy yesterday.
You were there. You were in Prague, weren't you? I know you were.
He transmogrified to Prague a lot.
I cannot confirm nor deny as it would compromise our agents in the field.
There we go. Thank you.
It's beautiful. I'm sure that Steven Gerrard and Glenn Kamara were kicking back, having drinks, and enjoying themselves. Good on you, Arsenal. Like, aside from all of the nonsense that goes on with the immaturity that is Slavia Prague and the way they've handled things, aside from that, Arsenal had a home game that, like, lined up for heartbreak. Like, that first leg, it was the opening chapter to Arsenal's latest heartbreak. Instead, Arsenal rolled into Prague and then beat them with a leather shoe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very impressed.
How?
This was our game of the week, or one of our games of the week, John. What were the picks yesterday?
We all had Slavia Prague.
Everybody had Slavia Prague.
Yeah, because we had zero faith in Arsenal getting the job done for humanity.
Yeah, Ron Digital, you can talk trash to us. It's okay. We were all wrong. It happens. Trust
Absolutely.
me. It'll happen plenty. It'll happen plenty.
Enjoy that moment.
Yes.
Savor it.
Yes.
Marinate in it.
Yes. Nobody saw 4-0 coming.
No.
Let's not fool ourselves, Arsenal fans. You did not see 4-0 coming and the way that thing started.
That doesn't include the goal taken off the board by VAR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it also doesn't include Lacazette, as Johannes points out, kneeling and staring right into their eyes. That was the image of the tournament.
Yes.
Good on him. And good on shoving it in their faces after everything that they have said. Even the president of the Czech Republic has come out with some buffoonery in statements. Shut up and stop talking, and luckily we don't have to talk about you in the Europa League anytime soon. I know not everybody for Slavia Prague and not everybody in the club is like what we've seen come to the fore, but it's good to see these things happen. So, bye.
There's a
fun.
non-zero chance
Adios.
that Champions League and Europa League are both England versus England, and I cannot exist in that world.
Oh,
it's just going to be too much.
It will be too much. It's always good when I hear pundits talk about how Leeds is overrated and Bielsa is overrated, and we're going to get into these kind of things. If we get that sort of thing, it will be all kinds of prideful beating of the chests, and I might beat my head against the wall in response. All right. Today, because this weekend, there's a lot of interesting matches worldwide, and we're going to try to hit a few of those here in the next 20 minutes. Everton and Tottenham today at 3 o'clock is a very, very interesting match. John, what are the juice boxes on Everton and Tottenham, by the way?
Dialing them up at this moment.
I just expect you to have them constantly, so sorry about that.
Well, I have them. I just have to change the country. So it's like I have it set up for a different country, and then you call out England. So
you never know where I'm going to go. Keep you on your toes.
Exactly. Everton is a plus 259 to win. This is once again courtesy of the Composite, our friends at Odds Portal, where they take about a dozen different juice box purveyors and combine them. Mm-hmm. Your draw is a plus 254, and Spurs are a plus 112.
I don't really know where to go with this. Looking at the table, this is 7 versus 8. Tottenham is on 49 points. Everton's on 48. Everton has a game in hand. They are a 6 and 7 points out of the final Champions League spot. Chelsea's 1 point behind West Ham for that spot. Liverpool is in between all of that. Everton's got that game in hand. If they win it, they go to 51. I mean, they're not out of it. I think 8 is still in play. I think going back to Arsenal at 9, where you're 10 points back from that spot, you might be out of it. But Everton, if they win, they keep hope alive.
Yeah,
do they
Carlo
win?
I don't know. I mean, Carlo Ancelotti said with 10 to go, or with 9 to go, they needed to win 6 to get into European competition.
Yeah, that's a safe number.
And, obviously, if they're going to get anywhere close to European competition, they got to have this one. I got to go with Spurs. I think that, when everybody sits there publicly and is wagging their finger at Spurs, this is when Harry Kane and Youngmin Son get mad. So I figure that Spurs get this one.
DM Tim is laughing at you feigning you had to find the English numbers, like you don't know them all by heart at this point. Ropes also said he would bite your arm off for a draw because Everton has had problems winning at home. Lots of draw picks here, and that's kind of where my gut took my pick there as well. I think it will end up being a draw. I've tried to believe in you, Everton. I've tried to big up Everton this year. I thought they would be a contender, and they are. I mean, I don't feel like my preseason pick was horribly wrong. It just feels like they can't get over that hump. They get close, and they just can't continue to get into that elite group. They're so close. Can they keep it going in future years? We'll just have to wait and see. Let's move over to the Bundesliga, where there's a pretty big game today. RB Leipzig and Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim 12th. A lot of people are keeping up with Hoffenheim due to Chris Richards, who has been up and down and kind of all over the place. Some really good performances and some really bad performances. RB Leipzig, 6 games left. They're 5 points back. Bayern's draw kind of keeps them in the mix here. Bayern has no more Champions League to be distracted by. RB Leipzig must win to keep the pressure on. They should win today. I'm assuming the numbers point in that direction.
Minus 250. Your draw is a plus 411. Hoffenheim's a plus 687.
They should get the win. They should keep the pressure on. I don't think it's going to be enough, but they should keep that moving along. Bayern, however, tomorrow morning, 9:30, they play Wolfsburg, which is the third-place team. Not a gimme, and they're on the road there. What are those numbers, by the way?
Minus 111 for Bayern. The draw is a plus 295, and Wolfsburg is a plus 288.
I'm really intrigued by that draw.
Mm-hmm.
And if RB Leipzig wins and Bayern draws, then we might have a little bit of a sprint in the Bundesliga. I might be trying to will that into existence, possibly. I want to see how Bayern bounces back. Are they disappointed with getting knocked out? Or, kind of as I've seen some of the reaction, are they proud of the effort? Because it was a good performance in the second leg. It wasn't good enough. Are they proud of that and they go and finish the season strong? We'll just have to wait and see. All right. That is today, the 2 big games. Oh, no, let's go to France, sorry. Lille is hosting Montpellier. Lille is at the top of the table. Montpellier is in 8th. Montpellier hasn't lost in their last 5, but 4 of them are draws. The French league is the largest, tightest race, with 4 teams, 3 Champions League spots in play, and 5 points separating 4 teams. Lille's at the top with a 3-point lead. PSG on 66, Monaco on 65, Lyon on 64. You're going back to 46 points for Montpellier in 8th. What are the numbers on this one?
Lille a minus 175. Your draw is a plus 311. Montpellier is a plus 528.
Should be Lille.
Yep.
They should have this under control. I don't know how much I trust them, but they should. If they don't...
Now imagine if you did a split at the end of your season.
No, nobody wants to do a split at the end of their season. That's just ridiculousness, Jarrett. We don't even need to bring that up because it's one of the dumbest things you could ever imagine in terms of a scheduling format. It's true.
It's beautiful.
No, it's not.
In Scotland, today...
In Scotland, since we're talking about splits, we'll get into that part in a minute. And it's not today. It is this weekend, though. Jarrett, how you feeling about your boys? They're playing Rangers in the Scottish Cup. Are you excited?
I embrace death as it comes.
Wow. That got dark.
So this is one where I think Rangers get up for this, for the Cups, because at this point, this is their chance to get a double. They've kind of been sitting in neutral in the league and coasting around. Last two Old Firm matches, they've been the worst team on the field, but it's worked out for them pretty well. I think they are up for this game, and I think Celtic will be too. I think it'll be chippy, but I think Rangers takes this one just because of the way the year has gone for them, and denying Celtic a trophy is probably just as wonderful as winning one if you're Rangers. Also, we get Aberdeen with their new coach this weekend. You just kind of jumped ahead. Segue, Jarrett. Segue.
Excellent.
No, that was not an excellent segue. What are you talking about? Come on, Jarrett. Let's sell this. So you've got the opportunity Saturday, if you're an Atlanta United fan, to watch Aberdeen's showdown with Livingston, which should be a good match. 12:30 ESPN Plus, Scottish Cup. What are you mad about? What?
Livingston's a weird opponent. Like
I said, should be a good match.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like Livingston's such a weird animal that they've really they've gotten over the crest of the wonderful start to Martindale's managerial career, then really hit the skids for a while, and now they've kind of leveled out. I don't know what they're going to play their game. It's going to be probably a bit of a high line, and they're probably going to try and put pressure on the ball against Aberdeen. They won't. It's not going to be like Ross County where there might be sitting back. Like it should be interesting. I just don't know what to expect with Livingston.
I mean,
it's not an indictment on Aberdeen.
Two teams kind of in the same spot in a way. I mean, Aberdeen's got back-to-back wins, 1-0. This is Stephen Glass's first match in charge. But 2 wins, 1-0 each. They're still not scoring goals yet, but now Glassy takes over. We'll see what that looks like. Livingston had the big loss to Celtic in league play, but then 3 unbeaten before that, including a Scottish Cup win over Wraith Rovers. So 2 teams that you're kind of wondering what it looks like. And we don't exactly know yet. Aberdeen have lost in 3 finals since they last hoisted the famous trophy in 1990. And they have another home match if they get through this one. It's lining up pretty well for Aberdeen. And it's a good time to get that new manager bounce. Steven said that at Aberdeen, managers are measured by how many trophies they put in the cabinet. And that's his goal. And this could be an opportunity to get the first one, especially with an Old Firm matchup here, and one of them is going to be out. So it does kind of fall really well, but this is game 1, and it's against a somewhat tricky opponent. 12:30 ESPN Plus. It is the ESPN Plus game this weekend. So 12:30 for that, then you can get ready and come over to 92.9 The Game for our pregame coverage starting at 2:30. And we'll get ready for Atlanta and Orlando. But good luck to our friend Stephen Glass in his first game in charge at Aberdeen. I do have to touch on this one, Jarrett, because I shook my head and gave myself whiplash because why does John Kennedy continue to say ridiculous things while he has some role at Celtic where he's the caretaker boss right now? Why would you say, after what you have seen from Celtic this season, that when they're on their day, they're the best team in Scotland? What's wrong with that man, Jarrett?
Sunshine Pumper.
That's. I know Sunshine Pumpers, Jarrett. No. I think there might need to be some testing done for substances.
It's possible. He's going to say all the things that he thinks he needs to say and do all the things he thinks he needs to do in what is a lost cause season. This cup is kind of your last chance to do something. If you get walloped by Rangers, then you're basically just kind of grinding it out the rest of the way. Interestingly, in his mind, and I will disagree with this, in his mind, he might be thinking, if I beat Rangers, I can really throw my hat in the ring for this job full time. No, you can't, said the narrator.
Well, he might be able to, but would that be a good decision? No, that would not be a good decision. No, that would not be at all.
Get that out of here!
That's my thought.
Decided to do the things he's done. Whatever.
Yeah, no good at all. I don't know. But, again, good luck to Stephen Glass at Aberdeen, and Celtic needs to stop talking, Jared. Can they do that, please? No comment is the right comment.
Yeah, Jared's done. I mean, Borna Barisic said they didn't win against us in 3 games and we're 20 points in front of them, so it's disrespectful a little bit to us. That's my comment on that. You need to be in life always realistic. If someone's better, and if someone's 20 points in front of you, you just don't talk like that. It's disrespectful for all the things we do this season.
And that's Rangers defender, Borna Barisic.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. They should feel disrespected by that comment. That's pretty ridiculous. Okay, let's run through games from the weekend really quickly. We've got a few more minutes before we jump into the week 1 of MLS. Tomorrow, big games to keep an eye on. Newcastle and West Ham. Alex Bassine, I'm going to talk to you real quick.
There you go.
So I was listening this morning to SiriusXM FC, and there was a full-throated defense of your Newcastle side and blamed everything, said that the only reason they have been in a relegation battle is because of the COVID outbreak and because they were missing their 3 up top for 6 weeks, I think. That feels like a little bit of revisionist history and protecting a manager who's been awful. I don't know how you feel about it. I would like to hear Alex Bassine's comments in the Twitch pitch and anybody else's comments. Has that factored in? Yeah, absolutely. No question. I mean, that was all at a bad time. You've got everybody back now. It has gotten better. Can't deny that. Steve Bruce's very defensive tactics have put them in this situation as well. Plausible, Alex says. I think a factor is fair. Incomplete, there we go. That's the right word. It's not the whole story. But they are in a better spot now. And they get West Ham, which won't be an easy one. West Ham is right now in that number 4 spot. What are the numbers on West Ham and Newcastle, John?
Newcastle's a plus 268. Your draw is basically a plus 250. West Ham is a plus 110.
Can West Ham handle the pressure? Newcastle, 1 loss in 5. Now 3 draws in that. I don't trust it enough to go anything draw or Newcastle win.
Yep.
But this is a good test for that kind of a theory that, oh, yeah, it was just people were missing and everything will be fine. This is a really difficult one. They are at home. We'll see how they handle it. You also have Southampton and Crystal Palace. You have Wolves and Sheffield United. That's league play. We've got FA Cup this weekend, though, and that's where the big action is in England, at least on Saturday. Chelsea hosting Manchester City. What are the numbers for that?
FA Cup, you've got Chelsea at a plus 376. Your draw is a plus 250. Manchester City a minus 119.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Too cool for school, Jarrett? You liking those numbers for Chelsea?
You know what? Give me Chelsea and everything in the league at this point. I'm gonna ride this train in the league. I'm not necessarily in Champions League, but domestically, yeah, sure, why not?
Wow. That's a lot bigger of a number than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking.
It is.
It's a 12:30 kick as well. I'm looking forward to peeking in on that one and seeing where it goes because I feel like that's disrespectful to Chelsea.
Sports taught me anything from SEC 12:30 kickoffs. It's
wacky.
Those noon games are a little weird sometimes. It doesn't really matter the sport.
It's a little different in England. I think the 7:30 games are the wacky ones over there, but and we'll see if Newcastle's wacky today or tomorrow. I feel like that's a disrespectful number to Chelsea. I really do.
No question. Absolutely.
I really do. The other big cup game of Saturday is Copa del Rey with Athletic Bilbao and Barcelona. Barcelona has had a topsy-turvy kind of a year, but they are in a final here, and they do still have hopes to win the league. What kind of respect is Barcelona getting in this one?
Minus 189. Your draw is a plus 355, and Bilbao is almost a plus 500.
I think Barcelona takes it.
Yeah.
I think Barcelona takes this. We're getting questions from Percy already. Like, when did soccer down here merge with soccer over there in the AM? During the pandemic, Percy, when we didn't have any soccer down here to talk about. And we started following all the other stuff going on, and this has become kind of a soccer show set in the South as opposed to anything else. With MLS season starting, and like I said at the top of the show, there's going to be a lot of MLS stuff going on. But we're not going to ignore the rest of the world either, because I do think it's important, as MLS is a big part of the world. That's why we talk a lot about South America, because where are a lot of the players that we're going to be talking about as impact, difference makers this year in MLS coming from? They're coming from South American clubs. So we talk about that. Go ahead, Jared.
Along with future San Jose head coach Sebastian Becasese.
Possibly, if they can get him to stop making out with the Recopa trophy. That was a kind of saucy picture. Hey, no, I don't think that's getting out of defense. That's not leaving.
Carry that trophy around the locker room. Say, you want something similar to this? You listen to me.
No, defense is not letting that thing go. Come on now, don't even get crazy with that. But also, I think looking at the European leagues, and I think it's important to have the context of what's going on because, look, I mean, we're seeing American players go to these clubs. We're seeing players from MLS go to these clubs. Zach Steffen at Manchester City, for example. It's important. It's important. So I think American soccer has, in my opinion, made a mistake at times by segregating everything. It's like, one, in just the American sports conversation, it's, the soccer show's over here. It's over there. Go hang out over there if you want to talk soccer, or come back at midnight or come back at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. That's when we'll talk soccer. Or on the third channel of some conglomerate, and it pops up sometimes and you can't hear it. You've got that. Okay, that's one way it gets done wrong. And I think the other is we segregate the conversations and we don't talk about everything in totality. Like, we're going to talk more MLS and more American soccer because we're in the United States. But I think we have to talk everything else as well. That's just kind of how it's turned anyway. Soccer brought to you from the South. That's not bad, Percy. It's just, that's kind of the way it's turned. And I think it's working a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, we're not going to go away from MLS stuff and from American stuff. We're going to add more coverage, actually, of USL Championship, USL League One going forward with their seasons kicking off. You can expect that starting up next week. But, yeah, heavy Atlanta and MLS focus. We're just a soccer show, and we're just based in Atlanta. So there's going to be a lot of Atlanta talk. Don't you worry. But all of it interconnects, which is really cool. You've got the biggest game of the weekend that I will throw up as Club America and Cruz Azul. You have two teams in Mexico who are setting records this year. It's the late game on Saturday night. It is at the Estadio Azteca, which both of them share. Club America is technically the home team. Do you have numbers on that one, John? I'd be fascinated to see where that is.
Club America is a plus 138. Your draw is a plus 227. Cruz Azul is a plus 186.
They throw that plus number out there on Cruz Azul, who are, if I'm not mistaken, John, would this be win 13 in a row?
I believe you are accurate.
Or is this 12?
Hang on. Checking form real quick. I know that with the standings,
they lost their first two. It's 12.
Yeah, they lost the first two.
I love Arcaí is the only team to keep them from winning.
Yeah. Well, you sent your U12 team over there to play, but still, but it's still your U12s.
And if Club America didn't have their clerical error,
yes,
they'd be on top of the table.
They would be on top of the table, but they wouldn't have 12 wins in a row. Correct?
No, correct.
How many would they have in a
row? Let's see. With form, once again with Cruz Azul, you go back 15. They are 11-1-2 and 14. They've won 9 of 10.
So they'd have 10 in a row.
Yeah, be 10 in a row.
The reason that's important is Cruz Azul, for all of their history of flopping in big moments, they have a chance to go down in history in Mexico. And this would be the all-time record of consecutive league wins. They've tied it now. León in 2019, and I think it was Necaxa in 1934-35. Cruz Azul has tied that. They get a chance to break it on Saturday night. That's a big story, and Club America is the ones who can prevent them from doing it. So, huge game Saturday night in Mexico. Definitely check in on that one. I know John will be watching because in addition to being an English snob and then a Euro snob, he is next a Liga MX snob.
And that started with Copa del Mundo Mexico 86. That was when that started.
That's called a World Cup. I said Liga MX snob.
That's what I'm saying is that I started watching the Univision broadcast, I want to say, at the time. And
makes more sense.
Then, just locked into that network for their coverage of sports. And so that was when it started, was back with their coverage of the World Cup in 86.
Now it makes more sense. Okay. All right. That's some of the big games this weekend. There will be plenty more on Sunday. It's a big weekend around the world, but it's a big weekend in our country, and we'll include Canada in this, even though we're not going to have games in Canada anytime soon. But welcome Montreal and Vancouver and Toronto to your stay in the United States for the start of the MLS season.
Salute.
Starts tonight. Jarrett Smith is excited. 8 o'clock, ESPN Plus. The San Jose Earthquakes go to Houston. Jarrett?
This is interesting to me because you have a San Jose team that, as we said literally 24 hours ago, I don't know what the summer holds for them if they don't come out of the blocks with a good start. I don't know if this leads to a divorce in the summer if they don't come out with a good start. I'm also, and I know you disagree with this, I'm also kind of side-eyed to Tab Ramos to see how this season goes for Houston. I don't think Ramos is like the first name on a chopping block or anything, but there has to be some improvement from last year.
Yeah, I think there has to be too. They had a good preseason. They won 5. They lost 1. The loss was to Dallas at the end of preseason, which was a big one. Darwin Quintero. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, both of these teams would do very well to find themselves in the U.S. Open Cup, I think. I think both of these teams can look at that and say, this might be our best chance at a trophy. So we need a win on week 1 to kind of get a leg up to get into the Open Cup because of the format this year.
Yeah, that's a factor. Teams are going to want to get off to a good start because the first 3 games will decide it. Out for Houston, Ethan Bartlow, the rookie's out with a concussion. Sam Junkwa's out with a concussion. Minor Figueroa is out due to health and safety on the injury report. Andres Rios is questionable up top for San Jose with a lower leg injury. You've got 2 of the best playmakers in the league in Darwin Quintero and Christian Espinoza. Quintero tied for the MLS lead in assists last year. Espinoza was 1 behind him. That gets it started at 8 o'clock. And, I mean, if you remember, the Houston Dynamo were originally the San Jose Clash and then Earthquakes and then moved to Houston. Then the new Earthquakes came up. So you've got that factoring into it, too. What are the Juicebox numbers on it, John? You're muted, John. It's a mute button.
That's what happens when you try to clickety-clack at the same time. Houston's a minus 108. Your draw's a plus 277. San Jose's a plus 271.
I don't trust your Quakes, Jarrett. I don't trust anything about that game. I'm not putting any juice boxes
Neither
anywhere.
do I. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about that one. Seattle and Minnesota is game number 2 tonight. Rematch of the Western Conference Final. Let's go back to that. Minnesota had a 2-goal lead, 75th minute. I think Adrian Heath got the tactics way wrong, and they ended up losing 3-2. Seattle goes to MLS Cup Final, and they got spanked by Columbus. Seattle's never lost to Minnesota in league play. Both teams played just a handful of preseason games, very limited. Nico Moreno, our guest yesterday, told us about Seattle's prep, and they had 2 games, and one of them against Portland, one of them against San Diego Loyal. Nico Ladero is out for Seattle. If you are getting your fantasy lineups ready, he is out, according to Brian Schmetzer. Jimmy Madranda is also out for Seattle. Minnesota, we know Iko Parra is not there. There really hasn't been much of an update. DeBasi is out. Nico Hansen is out as well. What are the numbers on the Seattle-Minnesota game? Because I am fascinated by where they could go with this.
Seattle's a minus 132. Your draw is a plus 300. Minnesota United a plus 323.
I will be playing Prince tonight and watching Minnesota collect a lot of juice boxes.
Woo.
I might even throw some Soul Asylum in the mix, maybe a little Husker Du.
I'm smashing that plus 336 or whatever the hell it was from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do not understand the Seattle love right now, and it's coming from a lot of folks. I just don't get it. I got questions about Schmetzer trying to play 2 up top. I got questions about how they're going to replace Jordan Morris, how they're going to play without Nico Ladero tonight. Whew. I mean, it's just going to be a lot of questions for Seattle. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it yet. I got to see it against the top team. I think Minnesota's a top team in this league.
Yep.
All right, the Canadian Derby in Fort Lauderdale, Saturday, 2 o'clock, ESPN Plus, Toronto and Montreal. Montreal is technically the home team here. Toronto won 3 of 4 between these two last year. Toronto's won 5 of the last 6 in league play with these two. Montreal lost to Tormenta in preseason on April 11th, 2-0. Toronto just got past the Liga MX defending champions in Club Leon. That's a little bit of a difference. Rommel Kyoto is going to have to do a lot for the former Montreal Impact, Club de Foot Montreal. Josie Altidore didn't play in Leg 2. He had an injury in Leg 1 in CONCACAF. The legendary Dom Dwyer is on trial with Toronto. He's not signed as of yet. That's an odd one to me. Okay. We'll see how that goes. What are the numbers on Montreal and Toronto?
Club de Foot Montréal is a plus 231. Your draw is a plus 254, and your draw is and then Toronto's a plus 112.
Run away from that game. Run away.
Yes.
Run away.
If I don't have to put juice boxes on it, though, I will drunkenly state that, and irresponsibly state, that this kind of has like a wacky MLS feel to it, where Montreal has no business winning this game, and watch them win it, and it won't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but every time you think MLS is going to do something that makes sense, it doesn't.
No. I got nothing for that, Jared.
Yep.
That's
dying on that hill.
That's
all right.
ludicrous.
Dying on that hill for no good reason.
That's ridiculous. All right, Saturday, Fox Deportes, 6 o'clock, LAFC and Austin FC. The debut for Verde. First of 3 times these teams will play. Austin won their last preseason game 5-1 over San Antonio FC. Cecilio Dominguez had a couple goals. Tomas Pochettino with a beautiful free kick. LAFC's got a little bit of firepower. The last 2 Golden Boot winners, Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi. I'm assuming the numbers are heavily tilted towards the black and gold squad from Los Angeles.
Accurate. Minus 222 for LAFC. Your draw is a plus 360, and Austin FC is a plus 577.
I got to see Austin play like 5 games before I really have a take. I'm okay with what they've done, building their squad. I think it's good. I think the spine is good. I think they don't have a lot of game changers unless Cecilio Dominguez becomes one of those, and you get some others who step up, and that's my biggest question is, do you have some guys who can go win games for you? I don't know yet. I think it will be fun, Bernd. I'm with you on it. I do want to see it. I just don't know what to think of Austin yet. This is going to be Josh Wolf's first game in charge. So far, according to the reports, and the Striker Texas has been a great outlet for Austin coverage. Chris Bills does an amazing job. They're going to play in a very similar way to what we've seen LAFC play, what I think we're going to see Atlanta play, what we've seen Greg Berhalter's teams play in Columbus and with the U.S. men's national team. A 4-3-3, a kind of true old-school 4-3-3 with a holding midfielder, 2 attacking central midfielders, wide wingers, number 9. Get the outside backs up high into the team to join the attack. Do they have the personnel to do all of that? We're going to find out. I want to see 5 games in. We'll come back to Austin FC and really have a take 5 games in. At least I will. 8 o'clock Saturday night, Red Bulls hosting Sporting Kansas City. Neither team played much in preseason. Gerhard Struber's first regular season match for Red Bulls. He took over for their playoff match last year where they gave Columbus a scare, 3-2 loss. Peter Vermes did confirm yesterday that Alan Pulido will be available. I think he kind of hedged on if he can go 90, but Pulido was injured with the Mexican national team during the international window. He will be available. Graham Zusi has now, when he appears, which he should, probably get the start here. Graham Zusi will tie C.J. Brown for most seasons in MLS, all spent with one club, his 13th season for Kansas City. Kansas City is the better team on paper. It is a road game for them. It can be a little tricky game one playing a team like Red Bulls that have an identifiable style, even if we're kind of wondering who the pieces are going to be carrying that style out. What are the numbers here?
Red Bulls plus 140. Your draw is a plus 257. Sporting is a plus 181.
I do kind of like that plus 181 for Sporting. I kind of dig that number. Not enough to throw a decent juice box at it, but I kind of like that Kansas City number because
with an expiration date that's coming up on you, or that's just recently passed?
Not even. I'll save that for something else. I'm not that good on it yet because I do have some questions about Polito, where he is health-wise, and I think Polito is going to be the key to them. I do want to see Busio against the press. I do want to see how he handles playing a team that's going to put a lot of pressure on them. DC and New York City, Saturday, 8 o'clock. DC failed to beat NYC in 2 matches last year. It's Hernan Losada's debut as DC manager. NYC had a good preseason. They won 4 of 5, even with Ronnie Dyla criticizing his roster to a degree. Hernan Losada went 1-2-2 during DC's preseason, and he criticized his team's fitness. Bill Hamid's out, sports hernia surgery. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. It is expected DC will make the Andy Nahar signing official today. Stephen Goff has alluded to that. I think you're going to see some other moves around the league today as teams have to get roster compliant. Sean Johnson was named captain for NYC. It feels like NYC should be the favorite here. What do the purveyors think?
They are at a minus 122. Your draw is a plus 280. DC United is a plus 312.
Wow, okay. That feels about like it should to me. Jarrett, how you feeling about Ronnie Dyla in year 2 in New York?
Same kind of situation, honestly, as Houston and San Jose, in that he needs to get off to a good start and get into the U.S. Open Cup. I think he needs that good start, get into the Cup, get the opportunity to get as close as humanly possible to a trophy. Because Ronnie Dyla's history is so up and down, you want to, actually get something out of this, because I think if it gets sideways in the summer, I could see them pulling the trigger on him.
Yeah, no, I could too. I don't think coming out and complaining about your roster is going to help if it goes sideways. I think that's going to end up pushing that trigger. A question from the Twitch pitch about the roster compliance, time, I don't know. It is today that they have to do it. I seem to remember the LA Galaxy situation with Giovanni Dos Santos. I think it was a 6 o'clock announcement that they had to buy him out. So it might be late in the day. I don't know if it's the first game of the season, which is an 8 o'clock kick. So I don't know. Welcome to MLS. There are questions, and Walchara brings it up, is that Josetu speculation about not making the roster gone away. I actually had not seen that speculation, but you're going to have to do something with Atlanta. It seems like, from what we know, I think they have one international player too many. I don't know how that gets solved. Again, I think there's going to be moves today. I think Nahar is going to get signed. Miami's got to do something, and that's been a big question. Jack Bauer signed yesterday for Atlanta, but that doesn't affect the international slots. It doesn't affect the roster slots anyway. I think he's going to be a supplemental guy, not a senior roster guy. I think with Atlanta, it's not the situation with the roster spots. I think it's the international slots. With Miami, the situation is the designated player slots. Burns says, I bet they loan a few players to Atlanta United too, and they absolutely could. But I don't know if there's an international guy who fits that bill. And that's where it gets tricky. So stay tuned. There could be moves today around the league in terms of roster stuff. All right, back to the schedule. Dallas hosting Colorado, 8 o'clock. 2 MLS originals. The all-time series is 34 wins for Dallas, 24 wins for Colorado, 17 draws. Dallas won their only game last year. It's been since 2016 for Colorado to go into Frisco and get a win. Dallas won the La Copita tournament in preseason, 3-0 win over Houston in their last game. The biggest question when it comes to Dallas, and if you're looking at these players for MLS Fantasy, keep this in mind. They're outside backs. We don't really know what they're going to do yet. Ryan Hollingshead is one of the most underrated players in this league. He should have been getting national team call-ups, in my opinion. He's that good. He's the safest choice at left back. He's not a traditional left back, but he has played really well there. John Nelson, not this John Nelson,
no relation,
John with an H, he's a lefty. He could move Hollingshead over to the right side. Eddie Muchoma is a possibility on the right side as well, and he's the more attack-minded option. So those outside backs, you got 3 guys, you got 2 spots. What does Dallas end up doing? I'll be looking forward to seeing that lineup to get a sense of it. What are the numbers in Dallas and Colorado?
Dallas plus 116. Colorado for the draw Colorado Dallas for the draw is a plus 250. Colorado to win a plus 227.
I don't know how to feel about these two yet. These are the 2 in the West that I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to sit back and watch.
Yep.
I do want to see what Chicago looks like this season. Chicago hosting New England, 8:30 ESPN Plus on Saturday. New England did not lose to Chicago in 2 games last year, a win and a draw. Preseasons were pretty comparable. Chicago was 3-2-1. New England was 2-1-2. Ignacio Aliceda, the winger from Defensa y Justicia, is questionable with a thigh injury for Chicago. That will hurt them in the attack a little bit. Robert Baric was number 2 in the Golden Boot race and really was not talked about last year. Really good forward up top for Chicago. Great midfield in the base of it. Gaston Jimenez, who is very well known by Gabriel Heinze from his time at Vélez. Top player in this league. This is a good Chicago team, but can they take the step forward to be a playoff team? Even that, I don't know, because the Eastern Conference is so crowded. PD asked about the juice box numbers. So that is the betting line. I know the betting lines in soccer are a little bit different. The question comes up a lot, and we try to refresh it a lot. So give us the numbers for Chicago and New England, and we'll walk through them and explain it.
Basically, it's dead even, but here they are. Chicago Fire plus 156.
Pause. If you put 100 juice boxes, or whatever currency you prefer, on Chicago, and they win, you would get your juice boxes back plus 156 of them. Okay, what is next?
Draw plus 250.
See, okay.
New England is a plus 164.
Okay, so very, very even there.
Yes, very.
Where you see a team with a minus number, if you have to put up the minus number, so if it's minus 135, you have to put up 135 of your juice boxes or whatever currency you are dealing in, and you would then get that back plus 100. That is how the juice box numbers work, PD. I hope that makes sense. Juice boxes are for fun.
Yes.
I don't use other currencies on these things because I don't have enough other currencies to work with, to be perfectly honest.
And the next game on the board has a minus, so we can explain that one.
We just did, John. Nashville versus Cincinnati, 8:30 on Saturday. Good job. Way to keep up. This is the first time they've played in MLS, which is crazy. Huge rivalry in USL Championship. These two fan bases do not like one another. Everybody thinks Nashville's like, oh, yay, it's happy to be here. We're good to have them in the league. Talk Cincinnati with the Nashville fans and see how they feel about it. And talk Nashville with Cincinnati fans and see what they have to say. Nashville won their 2 preseason games. They played USL Championship teams. They beat Louisville. They beat Tampa Bay. Louisville beat Cincinnati in a preseason match, so there's a common opponent for you in preseason. Great defense for Nashville. Joe Willis, 9 clean sheets. Now, Cincinnati has added a lot of firepower. Brenner coming in from Brazil, one of the top scorers from there. Cincinnati does have a question with Michael van der Werf, a potential starter at center back. He's questionable. Zico Bailey was a potential starter at right back. He's out with a concussion. Nashville's missing Daniel Rios and Dom Badji. Abu Danladi questionable with a hamstring injury. What do the people think about Nashville and Cincy?
Nashville is a minus 122. Your draw is a plus 262, and Cincinnati is a plus 338.
Not going to lie, if you're a degenerate like Jarrett Smith, you might look at that Cincinnati number because a lot of people are talking about Cincinnati this year. Are you that degenerate, Jarrett Smith?
Yeah, possibly.
You're always that degenerate. I expect anyway.
Yes, I was the first patient of the William J. Lepetime gambling casino for the insane.
Work.
That ain't true.
I was their first patient. I was not rehabbed. I escaped.
There
I
you
was
go.
not released.
Sounds about right.
I don't know if I trust Cincinnati. I think Brenner's going to be fun in Cincinnati, but I think this could be one of those things where, man, Brenner scores a lot of goals. Are they winning? Oh, no, not at all.
I don't know. We saw good defense from Cincinnati at times. We also saw 500 players playing defense for them all at the same time. Somehow they were getting extra players on the field, it felt like. They finally got some attacking firepower to go with it. I want to see what Jaap Stam does with this group. I really want to see if what we saw last year was pragmatic because they didn't have a lot of pieces to work with, or if that's who Jaap Stam's going to be in Cincinnati. I'm guessing from the talent they've added, it will not be who they will be. I think they will open it up more. I think they will. Johannes, I'm with you. I mean, that number is a tease in general for Cincinnati. I want to see him first. Johannes thought about putting Brenner on his fantasy team, but couldn't bring himself to do it. Want to see it first.
Yeah,
I need to see it with Cincinnati before I'm on board with that. I'm not buying it just yet. I don't think Jaap Stam is the Big Sam of MLS, Christopher Abel. I know that is a safe prediction, but I think with the players they signed, it gives us a hint that he wants to be more than that. He doesn't just want a bowl of gravy. He wants some nice food to go along with it that is preferably salted. He wants good things to go with the gravy. I'm gonna wait and see. No late game in MLS on Saturday night, which is a little weird. So you can go over to Club America and Cruz Azul, which will be a great one on Saturday night on Univision and TUDN. Come back on Sunday, 3 o'clock, ABC, ESPN Deportes, Miami and the LA Galaxy. This feels like two careening, broken down cars in the demolition derby, both on fire, and they decide to run into one another to end it for both of them. And it's game one, and it's Miami and the LA Galaxy. That's what it feels like. First time they've ever met. You got Lewis Morgan. Jarrett, I know you're a big fan.
Accurate.
Yes. 5 goals, 8 assists last year. I thought he was one of the best new players in the league. He was by far their best player. Greg Vanney makes his LA debut, returning after playing with them 193 times. He'll be on the touchline here. He's got to get Chicharito going. I don't know about the, and I don't know if we're even going to see them yet, the second division French winger coming in to replace Christian Pavone. I'm with Burned. They put that game on ABC? Yeah, they did. Big markets and such. I will be curious to see the rating for that. But it could be.
That's that's the most DPs in the league in that game.
Well, not all of them are there in that spot legally, at least for now, which has got to be resolved by the end of the day.
I'm going to spend my time slandering Miami, and I will die on that one, too.
It's fine. Phil Neville told the media Rodolfo Pizarro is essential to Miami's success. I completely agree. They got to get him going. He wasn't involved enough for them last year. I am curious to see this thing that Taylor Twellman talked about in extra time. Do they play Robbie Robinson on the right wing as a target winger? They need a right winger. They don't have one. Robinson, they need to see what they have from him. They picked him over, Daryl Dike. They picked 2 guys over Daryl Dike, actually. That's going to continue to haunt them until something comes good for Miami. What are the numbers on Miami and LA Galaxy?
Miami a minus 116.
What?
Your draw.
What?
Minus 116.
Miami's a minus. What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Who's doing this? What?
LAFC fans.
Panqueques are doing this. Okay, what is the LA Galaxy number?
Plus 303. and your draw's a plus 270.
Give me the draw because I think it's just going to be a stupid game. I can't believe Miami's favored by that much. That is insanity. All right. Columbus and Philadelphia, FS1, Fox Deportes, 5:30 on Sunday. You've got the MLS Cup defending champions and the Supporter Shield defending champions. Columbus has got injury issues. Philadelphia's got some injury issues. Both come in after advancing in CONCACAF Champions League. We'll probably get a little more information today about where the injury issues stand for both. Aiden Morris, Caleb Porter said his injury last night looked bad. It's a long list of crew injuries. Columbus beat Philadelphia twice last season, both in Columbus. And the last 6 times they've played in Columbus, the crew have 5 wins. What are the numbers between these two?
Crew minus 114. Draw plus 267. Philadelphia is a plus 300, basically.
Philadelphia is too good of a team to have that big of a number. With the injuries the crew have, I'm going Philly. I'm going Philly on the road. I feel pretty good about that as well.
Jim Curtin.
Future Celtic manager Jim Curtin.
There you go.
Tiki Taka asks,
manager Jim Curtin.
Tiki Taka asks, is this the game of the week? I think it is. I think it should be the ABC game of the week.
Yeah.
Bern, we didn't get into the Serie A ratings from Sunday on ABC. Yeah, I think they just threw something in because they had an open spot, and they really didn't have a good game to put there, and it wasn't. And I don't think they put a ton into it either because they're losing Serie A. So, yeah, it was not a good idea. It did not go as planned. I totally agree. I hope this one goes better. I'm fascinated to see that rating for Miami and the Galaxy on Sunday afternoon. Last game, as we finish up the hour, Vancouver hosting Portland in Utah, 10 o'clock Sunday night, ESPN+. Portland beat the Whitecaps last year in 2 games, 1-0 each time. They have played 96 times in all leagues. Remember, they met for the first time in the North American Soccer League in 1975. And no, it's not exactly like the original ownership from Portland and Vancouver continuing on. They've kind of adopted the brands, but let's go with it. Let's go with the history here. Vancouver has won 40 of these appearances. Portland has won 38. In MLS, Portland has dominated 13 wins and 7 losses. Jeremy Abobasi's out with a thigh strain. Sebastian Blanco is questionable as he recovers from the ACL surgery last year. Marvin Loria and Blake Bodley are also questionable. Blake Bodley, if he's able to make the appearance, he will come in and probably try to wreck somebody like he did against Marathon. We'll see if he can pull that off. What are the numbers for this?
Vancouver's a plus 376. Your draw is a plus 304. Portland a minus 149.
Don't even think about it with Vancouver.
Nope.
Don't even think about it with Vancouver.
Even I wouldn't touch that. That tells you everything.
I am fascinated by Nico Moreno's comment yesterday, though, about watch out for Vancouver. I don't know what to think of the Whitecaps. They've got a bunch of new players, a bunch of young players. If some of them hit, they could be a surprise. I'm not there yet. I'm not really all that optimistic about it yet. But let's see what Vancouver does early on. Maybe they surprise all of us in this one against Portland. All right. Jarrett Smith, thank you for hour number 1.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I'm glad I could contribute to everyone's degenerate bad ideas.
We will probably be having degenerate kinds of conversations in the watch-along thread on our Discord if you're a subscriber this weekend. So be ready for that, especially tonight with games. The commentary of MLS watch-alongs it's very, very entertaining because these games are very, very unpredictable. Jarrett, we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Jarrett Smith, make sure you're following him Jarrett_Smith on Twitter. John, you've got work to do right now, and people are very excited about it because it is the first of the new MLS season. Tell us about our friend Steve Apolinski.
Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go to have discussions on that topic, and it is with Apolinski and Associates, LLC. How do you do it? 3 different ways that you can do it. You can get a free consultation by picking up the phone, giving Steve a call, 404-377-9191. Or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small. Type in aa-legal.com, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the homepage for Appolinsky & Associates, LLC. And you can find out about all the different cases that they handle, all of the different honors that they have received. And if you still have questions after looking at all the information on the homepage, you can go to the pop-up window, lower right-hand corner, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. And if the website doesn't help you, and if an email doesn't help you, you can pick up the phone, give Steve a call, 404-377-9191, and get a free consultation that way. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for clients in Georgia and Alabama for wrongful death and serious injury matters. There's only one place you need to go. It is Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com.
People are already giving you tens because they're just excited about it being the opening weekend of Major League Soccer.
Of course, that's what we were talking about yesterday. Is the grades in direct proportion to the amount of game action that is involved with Atlanta United.
Yes, that is usually how they go. We'll get to those scores. We'll come back to those as everybody files them in the Twitch pitch. Mateo is dialing out to get Mike Conti on the line. Talk some Atlanta and Orlando. We talked about all the other games. And now Mike is with us to talk the big game of the weekend. Mike, we've cleared the decks. We talked about everything else. I think the juice box makers are really drunk when they make Miami such a big favorite. I have questions about ABC putting that game on national television, but we'll come back to those later.
You know why they did.
I do.
You know why.
I don't like
did.
it. I don't like
it either.
Columbus and Philly should be that game.
Exactly. That is the feature game of the weekend. Really, it's the biggest game of the month in MLS.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, you know why it goes this way. So, you know, it's the glitz and the glamour in the big markets, and Columbus is not a big market. Philadelphia, you know, like it or not, really isn't as hot an MLS market as most others. So, I mean, you know why it goes this way. It's unfortunate. I don't agree with it, but nonetheless, I am really looking forward to this weekend. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And
some good ones.
Speaking of the juice box makers,
yes,
what are they seeing that I'm not tomorrow in Orlando?
We have not even gotten there yet, and I have not looked at it, so I know nothing about what they're seeing or thinking.
So here's what it is, Jason.
Okay.
Orlando City is a plus 106.
Okay.
The draw is a plus 254. Atlanta United is a plus 250.
It's not as drunk as Miami being actually a minus number. But it feels a little exaggerated. A little. Not too far off. Orlando was really good last year. Really good.
I agree, but plus 250?
Again, a little high. I would, if I was actually doing it not to try to generate action, which maybe is where they're doing this. Maybe. It's risky, though, because you could easily see Atlanta going down there and winning. I would think maybe like a plus 125 for Orlando and like a plus 190 for Atlanta. Something like that, a little closer.
All right. Well,
Orlando's a favorite.
You don't have as strong of an objection as I thought.
No, not too much. I really do like what Orlando has to work with. I like it, but I'll tell you why that objection could grow is the injury report for Orlando. And Nani's not on it, which I'm questioning. Yeah. We'll see if that's
not
accurate.
Only is he not on it, he's a projected starter in their match notes.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I am questioning those numbers if Robin Janssen is out and Joao Moutinho is out, and they are both listed as questionable. Uri Rosell is also listed as questionable. Janssen is one of the best center backs in the league. That was such a good signing for them. Moutinho, look, I think, you know, we've talked about this. It feels like every time his name comes up, Mike, like I'm not high on him. But he was good last year in a limited sample size before he got hurt. He was the best I've ever seen him play. if you're missing the two of your 4 starters on the back line, Gabriel Heinze's got to be thrilled with that possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's only so much Pedro Gillespie can do. And Gillespie was phenomenal. We talk about what really turned things around for Orlando last year. They were far less dodgy in the back, and they had competent goalkeeping, which was a big Achilles heel for them in their first couple of years of existence. We know Gillespie is going to play. But yeah, if Janssen and Moutinho are both out, now you have questions. Now you have big questions. The one thing that really stood out to me, though, about Orlando last year is that their manager was very, very willing and confident in playing the young guys, the homegrown guys, not necessarily the academy kids, but young and inexperienced at the MLS level players. And those players paid on the gamble. They played really, really well. So I am going to assume that Orlando City is probably in a better depth situation than maybe we as outsiders are aware.
Not in the back, they are. Not in the back.
You really don't think?
No. I mean, I'm looking at it.
I think Oscar Pereira's got like some 16-year-old academy kid that he's going to unveil to the world tomorrow.
He's not on the roster. The only one in that situation could be Michael Halliday, who did not play last year. Homegrown, who I think played with OCB last season. He's a right back, and if you're missing Moutinho, it's going to be either Kyle Smith, who did play a good bit last year, who's solid, or Halliday moving over to the left. My guess is Smith. Center back, I mean, you've got Antonio Carlos as one starter there, and you're going to be turning to Rodrigo Schlegel because you only have 4 center backs. Mm-hmm. And Schlegel only played 675 minutes, and his highlight was being in goal for a penalty shootout. I mean,
right.
If their back line tomorrow is Kyle Smith on the left, Antonio Carlos and Rodrigo Schlegel at center back, and Huon on the right, Huon's going to bomb forward no matter who he's paired with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're attacking 3, where it's Schlegel, Carlos, Antonio Carlos, and Kyle Smith, I want to see who's at right wing for Atlanta United tomorrow. If Moutinho, even questionable if he plays, I want to see who's at right wing because I feel like that's the one that you might pick on here because that's their weak spot.
Yeah, and that could be Moreno.
He could move him over.
It could be Mulroney, could be Dom, could be Lennon. I think with any of those 4, you're going to have a favorable matchup.
Yeah.
It could even be Barco, really. I mean, I doubt it, but it could be. You're going to have probably a favorable matchup there. But then it hinges on what I know some people were concerned about on Tuesday. Is the quality going to be there on the end of those crosses? Is the finishing going to be there? Are you going to be able to convert on the chances? But I'm just looking for those chances to be created. So you bring up a really good point. I think this is also going to be a really good test for Atlanta United's back line. Let's say Nani does play, but even if he doesn't, let's say it's Pato. This is a big step up from what you saw in Alo Alense. With respect to Alo Alense, Chris Mueller, Nani, Pato. Daryl DK is not on the Concorde coming back from Barnsley, so you don't have to worry about him. But they still have a lot of quality in the attacking third. So that's one thing that I'm really anxious to see as well, Jason, is how's Atlanta United's back line going to respond to this? Is Miles Robinson going to be able to maintain the level that he played at the last 2 matches against Alo Alense? I'm sure he will. I guess it's not definite yet that Alan Franco is or is not playing, but I think Anton Walks was rock solid against Alo Alense. To a lesser extent, this will involve George Bello and Brooks Lennon. I have no concerns there. I think, where it does start to get very interesting is Huon's role, and with Huon's speed, how does Atlanta United deal with that from a speed standpoint? But I'm really anxious because I've been excited with what I've seen from Sosa, and we know what Miles can do, and we know what Walks can do. Here's a test. Here's probably, I think, maybe a bigger test than you're going to get next week against Chicago. and maybe a bigger test than what you're going to get the week after against New England. As far as league matches are concerned, I think Philadelphia might be a different animal. Let's see how they do. Because this is going to be a step up for them, and I think they're ready for it.
Well, and Mike, I think you bring up an interesting point that this, to me, shapes up to be a staring contest at points because of what we've seen from Atlanta United so far this season at the back. And then with what we know with Orlando under Oscar Pareja, taking players into account, and then, if injuries are there, then they may not necessarily be 100%. Then the work down the right-hand side, whoever is down that right, you also have Brooks Lennon coming in from behind, working his way to the inside if those chances are there, and we know what Lennon can do with his crosses. So I think that Atlanta's right, Orlando's left. I think that is going to be it's going to be one of the places for fans to watch as you're looking at this matchup because of what we've seen in the preseason, what we've seen against Alajuelense is that you have the speed and the talent to work the ball into the area. And I think that this really could be something that Atlanta could take advantage of.
The three of us agree. But it is interesting because when Atlanta United scored against Orlando City last year, it was coming down Atlanta United's left, Orlando's right. Like that game-tying goal in stoppage time on Labor Day weekend that Adam John scored, the cross came from the left.
There'll be space behind Huon, too. I think it's like two different things. It's you like to go one-on-one against Kyle Smith or Michael Halliday or even Joao Moutinho. Whoever's on the left, you don't mind if they're there and running at them. On the right, Huon's going to give you space, and you can get in behind on your left side. So different approaches, but yeah, you can get on both sides of Orlando.
Yeah.
Nothing like having your staring contest with your number one rival coming out of the blocks, eh, Mike?
I don't feel like it's going to be a staring contest, though. I think this is going to be kind of a wide open, very, very
like one of those Russision slap fight contests that we see on YouTube every once in a while.
Or like a duel with 11 people on each side participating. Like a Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Bird duel where. It's 11 of that going on at once. I think this is going to be very, very fast and free. And maybe even appearing, not actually, but appearing at times to be a little bit frenetic and disorganized.
I think it'll be a lot of that.
Yeah. I don't anticipate this being any kind of a standoff, I don't expect either team to be very patient tomorrow. And I could be totally fooled and totally wrong. I think Orlando goes into this match with a ton of confidence. I think Atlanta United goes into this match with a ton of confidence. And I really like what Miles Robinson said yesterday. He was asked, I forget exactly how he was asked, but, how are you going to deal with Orlando doing this and that? And Miles Robinson goes, well, quite honestly, we want them to adapt to what we're going to do. I love hearing that. I love hearing that Atlanta United wants to go into this match with the intent to dictate the terms, not adapt to the terms that Orlando will try to establish in this match. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it could get wild. I think we're going to have a lot of chances created both ways. And, ultimately what it will probably come down to is which team finishes those chances the best, because I think the chances are going to come. Orlando's got too much quality in their attack. Atlanta United's got too much speed. I would be really, really surprised if this was anything other than a frenetic, very, very free type of match tomorrow.
Organized chaos is what Gabriel Heinze wants. And that is how he will control matches. And get ready for Atlanta United players and technical staff to say that they're never going to change the way they play based on the opponent in terms of giving them the play. They'll change tactics. They'll look at the left back situation and say, do we want to put Moreno there? Do we want to have Dom run there? Do we want to move the pieces around? They'll play three in the back when they're going up against two center backs. They'll change the individual game tactics, but they're never going to concede control. And that's the thing. And if the game is frenetic, that's how Atlanta wants it to a degree, because they're going to live in that chaos and enjoy it. And some teams won't. One thing about Orlando, actually, hold on. Before we do that, John, you need to do something for me because of this. At 10:30, Jillian Sakovits will be joining us.
Sweet.
Yes. Jillian had her second shot, her second vaccine shot, so she was a little worried how she would feel today, but she's doing pretty good. So Jillian will be joining us at 10:30. So, Mike, hang out so you can say hello.
I would love to, yeah. And I'm getting my second jab on Tuesday with the knowledge that if it puts me on the ground for a couple days, I will still be ready for next Saturday against Chicago. This is the way we're doing it in our industry right now. We're timing our jabs to make us optimally healthy for the next match that we'll call. If I have to miss 3 Hawks games to get the next Atlanta United match in, by God, I'm going to do it.
There we
Don't
go.
tell the Hawks.
There we go. Okay, so tweet that out, John, por favor.
I'll tweet that out.
Thank you.
Not about my jab, about Jill.
Yeah. You can leave that part out. We can cover that another time.
I can do that.
Okay. I keep checking the updates from around the league because I'm really curious to see what some of the rosters could be.
You and me both, by the way.
Yeah.
This is hilarious.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, roster compliance day, like it gets crazy. I mean, we know the Miami situation, and we don't know what they're going to do. Really, the talk about Pellegrini being traded has shut down pretty quiet, so I don't know. The good thing for them is Montreal is playing at their stadium, so it's not like he has to go very far if they're going to pull that move off, and they could probably bring them in for some Cuban coffee and get this deal sorted out, I would assume. But it hasn't happened yet. DC is expected to sign Andy Nahar, but that hasn't happened yet. Atlanta, we think, has an issue with international slots.
I don't think they're in compliance yet. Now, this is awkward. Have the game notes been distributed widely yet?
I have not gotten them from my usual way of getting them, no.
Okay, so then
they've not been distributed directly.
I cannot comment further. I think there is a little bit of a hint that might be coming out later. I don't know for sure. I'm speculating. Let me be very clear. I don't know anything officially.
Right.
I'm just speculating. I think they are working on getting compliant. Let me put it to you that way. I think they are working on a solution.
Okay. And Mike will reserve any further comment on the matter.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think I can say that. I think it is apparent that something is being worked on to reduce the number of players occupying international slots. I think I'm safe to say that.
I love MLS. It's great. It's also snowing in New England.
This is not Atlanta. This is everyone.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. I would guess every team in the league as of this second right now is not compliant.
I don't know about everybody.
There might be like three or four teams that are compliant, but most are not. By the way, when the roster compliance deadline is April 16th, teams are going to work all the way up to the deadline. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it appears that Atlanta United is one over on international slots at this very moment. But I believe they might be working on a way to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely are if they're not in compliance. And the one thing we don't know, and keep this in mind with moves from a lot of teams around the league, we have no idea cap situations.
No.
And that could force moves as well, and that would be completely unknown. If you see a move that you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. It's probably cap related.
Yeah.
That's going to be my guess today. If you see a player move for an amount that doesn't seem to fit, it's probably because of a cap situation. That's going to be my assumption today when that kind of stuff happens.
I would think most teams are probably close enough in the ballpark with their caps that you're not going to see anything like earth-shattering from that standpoint.
Not
today.
A top guy, but you might see somebody that is a contributor moved because that's where the market is, and it might be for less than you would think the valuation would be. because that's just where we're at. Like the Pellegrini one, I mean, that's a different situation, but the numbers being thrown around on that, Miami's going to take a huge loss if they trade him within the league, because nobody's going to give them what they paid in a transfer fee to Estudiantes because they don't have to. And Miami has to make a move because they don't want to buy him out.
Yeah, and remember, too, with Miami, we still don't know what the sanction is going to be on the Machidi.
Right, and that could make it even harder. Yeah.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, Don Garber said they're going to announce it by the start of the season. That's today. And Garber did not give me the impression Monday that, we think Miami did nothing wrong, so no big deal. So that sanction could be part of whatever happens with Pellegrini or anything else with Inter Miami today. That would be the team to watch, I think. I mean, that would probably be the team that has
definitely
the most direct. It's kind of like, I feel like this time last year it was LA Galaxy.
Yes.
They were, what was it? They were 1 over on designated players or something like that.
Yeah.
Going into the roster compliance stage. So this year's LA Galaxy, ironically, they're playing LA Galaxy this weekend. Is Inter Miami. They have the most to do today.
Yeah, 100%. But we'll keep you posted if anything happens during the show. And then later today, we have the run-up at 7 o'clock, myself and Kelly Francis, and we'll dig into any moves that happen between now and then as we get ready for Atlanta, Orlando.
Jason, I have to interrupt. You're literally a content machine.
Yes.
These days. Like, I don't know how you do it. Like yesterday, I did 2 Facebook Live shows, and then Jason and I recorded another show that's coming out tonight. I'm like, I have no idea how Jason does this every day.
He's a machine, Mike.
I was exhausted, and Jason did all but one of the shows with me. Like, I'm like, I've just talked for 3 hours. I need a nap. And Jason, this is like every day for you.
Yeah, I'm getting into the midseason form.
Well, man, I mean, fitness is never a question.
No, fitness report for Jason is always at 100%.
No, I'm not going to lie. I hit the wall yesterday after No Swag Shop.
I know it because I was texting you something and it took a couple hours to hear back.
Yeah, because I was asleep. I was asleep.
He's either walking the dog or taking a nap, or hopefully both, or something relaxing. So, by the way, I am really excited about AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, and that's coming out tonight on the Atlanta United YouTube page. I think at 8 o'clock. I think that was the time they said, but I'm not positive. Keep an eye on it. I'm sure they'll tweet it out.
Subscribe, get your notifications.
Watch your notifications. So Jason and I, this is really cool. This year, we're expanding the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. We're not doing it on match day. We're doing it the day before because we want to give you the easiest opportunity to be able to watch. Sometimes we do it and you're on the MARTA train or you're parking your car.
You're in the building and it's hard to, yeah.
Exactly. So we're trying to get more content to more people this year. So it's gone from like a 10-minute lineup reveal to a 30-minute show with lots of analysis on the club, on things going on around the league. We're going to talk to Carlos Bocanegra tonight. We're going to have interviews with special guests throughout the year. So really, really excited for the first episode of that to come out tonight. And Jason was the technical genius behind all of it. So if you like the special effects and everything, that's Jason. That has nothing to do with
If you
me,
don't,
but,
it's Mateo. If you don't like it, then it's
right.
Mateo.
Yes.
The good parts,
Right.
that was me.
Right. But no, I think that's going to be a really, really fun way to connect with our fans this year. And anything that we can do to kind of tell the story of the club in a little bit more depth and detail is something that I know we're really looking forward to. So I'm proud of this first one. I think it's going to be really good. And, we'll kind of add elements from there as the year goes on. But that's tonight on the Atlanta United YouTube page, I think around 8 o'clock, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, make sure you've got the subscription, which most of you probably already do. And if you can get notifications, do that because it will post tonight. And as you watch, if you guys have questions, comments about things you'd like to see in future episodes, give us a heads up. Let us know. We'll see
Absolutely.
what we can do. It's going to be fun to be able to flesh that thing out and do more to tell the story. I mean, it's not just the first team. We talk about the proving ground and the academy and the twos, and we're going to talk to people from the club, not just Carlos, who we got this time around, which is great to hear from him. Not just Darren, not just the usual suspects. If there's people behind the scenes at the club you want to hear from, give us a heads up, and we will work on it and get it done. I'm excited about Game 1 tomorrow, Mike. Today I seriously woke up and had an extra kind of buzz because
me too.
I love this league. I love the games tonight. I'm going to be watching them. Minnesota, Seattle should be a really interesting Western Conference final rematch. But we get underway tomorrow on radio. And what are you most looking forward to about it? What is the thing that you're most excited about seeing tomorrow?
Honestly, being back in stadiums with fans.
Yeah. We won't get that tomorrow.
Really,
soon enough, but.
The following. But for those of you who are going to Orlando, for those of you who have tickets to a match anywhere in North America tomorrow, last year just really, and it wasn't just because Atlanta United had a tough year. It was not fun. Not fun calling games in empty. I mean, I love calling games. Don't get me wrong. Calling games is fun, but there's just so much missing. Yeah. When you're in an empty stadium. It feels like you're basically watching a scrimmage or a practice or something like that. So to have fans back, to have that energy, 'cause what would this league be without its fans, right? I mean, that's the reason why we play. That's the reason why we work on this content all the time, because it's what the fans want. The fans are passionate about Atlanta United and the league, and it just felt like that passion was missing last year. So I know that's not probably the answer you were looking for, Jason, but honestly, that's how I feel. I'm just really excited to be back in stadiums with fans, and hopefully as the season goes along, back in more stadiums with more fans. It's still going to be limited to begin the year, but hopefully that'll continue. As far as on the field stuff is concerned, I have a lot of curiosity about a couple different teams in the league this year. I really am eager to see Austin, and I'm eager to see how they get started and how their fans respond to what they have done. I think they've been pretty responsible in the way they've built that team. What kind of step? All right. Exactly. What kind of step does Nashville take this year? And ended last year with a lot of momentum. I like what they've done there. They've built a team intelligently. How are they going to take their next step now? Columbus, they set the bar really high, and I think they may have even gotten better. But I think a lot of other teams in the Eastern Conference have gotten better too. And I think there's a lot of parity in the Eastern Conference, and there's going to be a real struggle, I think, to get above that playoff line this year. So really anxious to see, how does Columbus build on what they did last year? How does Philadelphia build on what they did last year after selling some players and making some changes? And I know trying to not take a step back as far as competitiveness is concerned. Obviously, we've talked at great length about Atlanta. Out west, LAFC, I think this is a pressured season for them. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like it's a cup or bust season for them. How does Seattle look without Jordan Morris? Because I still think they're really good. I love Raul Ruidiaz. I love that team. And then, on top of everything else, how far is this league going to go in CONCACAF? Mm-hmm. 5 of the 8 teams left in the tournament are MLS teams. You're going to have at least one MLS team in the semifinal. Can you have 2 or even 3? This first month of the season is going to be fascinating. And then on top of it, you've got teams with 3 matches to get in the U.S. Open Cup. These first 3 matches are critical matches. Every match is, a win on week 1 counts the same as a weekend decision day. But these first 3 matches go to U.S. Open Cup qualification. It's going to be a really intense first couple weeks of the season when you throw CONCACAF on top of it and everything else. And I think the winners are going to be us, the fans, and the people who cover the league, because the quality of play I expect is going to be very high.
Yeah, this is going to be huge. I mean, back to CONCACAF really quick. So we know the Atlanta-Philadelphia quarterfinal that we're all excited about. But the others, I mean, Toronto and Cruz Azul, we mentioned Cruz Azul and how good they have been this season. 12 straight wins right now. Columbus and Monterrey could be an amazing quarterfinal. And Portland and Club America, who are also really good this season. I mean, while you got 5 MLS teams in for the first time ever, you've got 2 teams in Cruz Azul and Club America who are maybe 2 of the best Liga MX teams we've seen in this tournament at this stage.
Right.
So, I mean, this final 8 is just incredible, and it's going to be great for the competition.
Think about a possible Atlanta Club America semifinal. Atlanta just beat Club America back in December. Both clubs have changed. Think about a potential Cruz Azul Columbus semifinal. Potential. Man. I can't wait. I cannot wait for that. So really exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. We are lining up Jillian Sakovits to join us right now. Jillian's with us with audio, I believe. Hey, Jillian.
Hi, how are you? I'm hearing video and audio, I think.
We will have video up for the people on Twitch here in just a second. Mike Conti's also hanging out with us for a couple minutes, Jillian.
Yay. Hey, Mike.
What's up, Jill? How are you?
Oh, so good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear yours, too. And thank you for picking Atlanta United to win it all.
Yes.
Of course.
Someone's got to represent. How are you feeling, by the way?
I feel great. How are you?
Good. We're good. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Oh, it'll be great. See you soon.
All right, I'm going to get the video pulled up for Jillian, but John, why don't you kick us off if you've unmuted your mic?
Yeah, I know, really. Me and the mute button, we're like fast friends. Because, see, Jillian, the whole thing is, it's like when I try to multitask, as you do, you know, when you're doing your shows with Susanna and such, I am a loud typer.
I know.
And so when I'm trying to get everything done, I'm typing loudly and it blows out the microphone. And so I have to mute off so Jason can actually hear himself think. And so by the time I've typed what I'm typing and want to get back to talking with, you know, either you or Jason or whomever, I always forget to hit the mute button because in trying to be courteous, I always forget what I've done to get us back to this point. And so
that problem is real. We deal with it on the call up or when I do E-League for Turner of I'm going down the rundown, clicking my mouse, or I'm typing in notes as we go. And yeah, I'm just ruining the interview with annoying click sounds. So
So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. You picked Atlanta United, and you gave some of the reasons for thinking that Atlanta United is going to go on the revenge tour. What have been some of your takeaways coming into opening weekend? How much have you been able to see with CONCACAF Champions League and preseason, all that kind of stuff? How much prep have you had leading into opening weekend for Atlanta United?
Well, I would say, first off, CCL, wow. Like, I hope this isn't them getting us really excited and then letting us all down and then no MLS teams win it. But what a showing this week by all clubs. It's really, really incredible. And in terms of Atlanta United, I think for me, it's as simple as the fact that the grit seems to be back and the understanding and the clarity seems to be back. Is anyone playing at their best? No, but that's kind of the beauty of the whole thing. And I'm loving what we're seeing from some of the new guys. I think like a Sosa is going to be like an instant fan favorite. You know, like that's just a guy that you want to play for you and that you'd want to play with. And like I said, I think with Atlanta United, I think LAFC is going to make headlines all year. But for some reason, like I'm not sure. I really liked Portland last year. I think had they not dealt with injuries, they could have been the MLS Cup winners. And barring, again, any injuries, I see Portland making a run in the West. And, of course, I see Atlanta United probably getting down to the wire with like a Columbus or a Toronto down the stretch, or maybe in Orlando. I mean, who knows?
So I want to go big picture real quick for you, Jillian. We talked about it a little bit. How is it for you balancing everything you're doing with MLS, now the run-ups on SiriusXM FC, that's blowing up, you're doing so much more with the league side of things, but how is it for you being on league side and the Atlanta United side? How do you balance it?
So the big plus is if I had never worked for the league, I would have probably never gotten the Atlanta United job, right? That kind of was my entryway into understanding the league and also the weight and the excitement that the expansion teams carried. And with that came a really awesome opportunity in Atlanta's second year to get involved. So I have to thank the league, first off. Second, it's not tough in terms of the workload. I think both make me better at what I do. I can say I'm a better Atlanta United host and reporter because I'm talking all week to all now other 27 teams, right? Having those conversations with coaches, having those relationships with players, knowing about guys, it all gives me context to be able to do a good job for Atlanta United. So having a knowledge of the league, relationships within the league does not take away from my commitment to Atlanta United. I think it just allows me to bring more context to the viewers, because I think something I've seen is that Atlanta United fans are some of the most educated fans in the league. They know the team. They know everything about these guys. They know that Josef Martinez has 9 puppies at home. They know everything. But it's impossible as a fan or a dedicated fan with if you're working, you got a family, to keep up to date on what everybody else is doing. And that's kind of the context that I like to bring. And then, yes, when prediction time rolls around, some of them will make fun of me for being a homer, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay being a homer for Atlanta United.
How big a year do you think Josef is going to have? I mean, a lot of us are sitting there and thinking that, it's going to be, angry mug Josef face the entire season. And we're looking at 22 goals and things like that. What kind of a season are you looking for from Josef coming back for a full year?
Well, I think the stakes are really high for Josef because it's already been pegged that Carlos Vela apparently is going to have a year better than he had in 2019. Yeah. And that would mean Josef having a much better year than he had in 2018. But I think that, we were having this debate a little bit behind the scenes at the league. And, my argument would be, well, Josef had 3 really good years of output. Even his first year in the league, he had great output. But he had that injury right in the fall or the late summer. So I think Josef's just got a little bit more of the consistency in the league. I do think a Carlos Vela now, with a little more comfort here in MLS, is a dangerous thing. 2020 is a wash. I don't really obviously can't look at what Josef did, but I don't really look at what anybody did in 2020. Even myself sometimes from a personal standpoint. So I think right off the bat, it is going to be Josef versus Carlos, full steam ahead. And then you see what a Lucas De La Rayon from Columbus has up his sleeve. And who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun year. I don't know about you. I feel like you've got so many different cup contenders. We kind of went through Matt Doyle's piece at MLSsoccer.com yesterday and the tier idea. And I feel like maybe it's even underselling how many teams can win the title this year. I mean, I go through 4, maybe 5 in the East and about the same in the West. It just feels so wide open.
It really, really does. And the other impression I've gotten in speaking to ownership or coaches, players, is the idea that people are really anxious and hungry to play. Last year, it was more nervous and anxious to play. Are we going to play? Oh my gosh, I need to do well this week because who knows what's going to happen next week with the pandemic, the social unrest. Last year was very stressful and trying. You have 3 teams from Canada living away from their families in the United States. I mean, they're doing that again, which is tough. But this year, the vaccine is here. We're not starting that late, right? We're not kind of starting with a weird bubble tournament. And then again, in late August, we're starting about 6 weeks late. And I think that it's that whole idea of that you don't know what something means to you or you don't value it until it was taken away from you. And I think everyone, including the players, experienced that last year. And I'm not saying they're not always anxious and excited to play in March, but we know that the MLS offseason is a horribly small offseason. And it's if you win Cup, you got about 2 weeks to chill out and then you're back. So while it's also very open, Jason, to your point, I think it's going to be very exciting because I think there is a fire under everybody. Like, I feel it.
And I mean, when we were looking at the East and the West, you look at the East and we could sit there and probably pull the teams that are not a part of the playoff discussion away. And there's so few of them that the East is going to be just an absolute street fight when you're trying to figure out who's actually going to squeeze into those playoff spots. And in the West, I think that you're probably going to have not as many chasing after the playoff spots that you will in the East, but it's still going to be an interesting race because there are still a lot of questions out West as well. I think it's going to be one of the more competitive years, I think, across the board for teams chasing playoff spots here in the league.
For sure. And you never really know with MLS, like, how is the playoff format going to go? It's changed. You can ask Dan Gargan. He says in his playing career, he feels like it changed every other year. We saw it, expand last year. But aside from that, the playoffs this year, with that fire that I think is there, with the talent that is there, with the young talent that's there. Like, when I was getting my vaccine, I had an Atlanta United sweatshirt on, and the guy was talking to me about the league a little bit. And he's a big EPL fan. And he was so bummed that there's no more Zlatan, there's no more Wayne Rooney. And I was like, well, have you heard, of Daryl DK? Like, come on. Like, it's no longer a league of that. You've got some young guys that we have some guys who have left on loan, but that will be coming back. And it's just like, this is such an exciting league. And it's not about the stars from Europe anymore that are here. It's about all of the up and comers. Look at Atlanta United this year and bringing in kind of 2.0 2017 kind of deal with Gabriel Heinze and all the new South American talent, not new to soccer, but new names to many of us, right? New names to many fans. So I think MLS is going to really kick it up a notch this year. And Taylor Twellman was on the podcast, The Call Up, as well. And he kind of alluded to that a little bit, that he thinks this is going to be a really big year for the league. And when you've got guys like Daryl DK or Paul Arriola or Jordan Morris, unfortunately injured, but when you get those names going over there, that brings in worldwide attention. Yeah. And that is going to be some eyeballs that we see.
What have you thought about the first two games in the Gabriel Heinze era for Atlanta?
Wild, fun. Some of their transitions really reminded me of, quote, the old days, which is funny to say the old days. But, yeah. I mean, all of a sudden the ball is back in their end. They're building out of the back. Kick goes out, and I forget the play. And like 30 seconds later, it's a shot on goal. And I'm like, that's the Atlanta United that the fans really love. Sure, okay, playing like that, you might let a goal or two in.
You will.
But you're firing off 4 or 5. You're winning, 5-2. It's all good. So I'm kind of excited for that. I'm also very excited for what I saw from Heinze. I think that I remember Jeff Loreno had said this, that guy played in the league forever and has been through probably 10 MLS head coaches. And he said he was never so clear in his role as he was under Tata Martino. And that takes a lot for a guy at the time was 34, 35. He's been playing since he was 20, 21. And I kind of feel like I saw that in the formations and the way that they were building and the way that they were playing under Heinze. Again, it's CCL. It's early. Everyone's figuring out who everybody is. I'm watching, trying to figure out who everybody is. I'm like, okay, yes. You're right. Yeah. Jürgen Damm still has that hair. Like, that's him. Like, I'm like, it's a learning thing for all of us, but that's why it's been so great to have Atlanta United and CCL.
I'm going to steal a bit. I think you guys originated it on the call up, and maybe Andrew kind of stole it and modified it.
Probably.
We generally describe the way Atlanta United has played in these games. When games get chaotic like that and crazy, we usually call them drunk. So what cocktail or mixed drink or alcoholic drink would you use to describe the way Atlanta United looks so far?
Oh, there you go.
That's a good question. We didn't come up with this, but now I'm going to steal it. But
okay, I gave you credit, so it's yours in my opinion.
Yes, it's yours.
I'm going to go with a margarita, because I always feel like you sip them and you're like, oh, this is so good. This isn't that strong. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, and you're like on the floor. So really I think that I'll go with margarita. What did you guys pick? Did you pick
No,
one?
We haven't. That's really good. I don't know if I can top that. Because it's not like a Long Island iced tea where it's just you're going to be in trouble. Like, it's not that, because there's control here. Yeah, going in, okay. Like, that's San Jose. Like, going in, forget it. No rules, no organization. It's nuts. There's controlled chaos. So, yeah, margarita is a really good call.
Thanks. I need to know, does Gabriel drink margaritas? I am so fascinated by trying to crack him and find out more about him.
Good luck on that one.
Yeah.
So Darren was on the podcast, and he said, Susanna Collins said something like, is Gabrielle going to be nice to my girl, Jill? All in good fun. He goes, of course, they're just going to be really short interviews. And I'm like, listen, Tata Martino and I could not speak to each other for the most part. Joseph Martinez could break 3 records in that game. And I'd say to him, Tata, like, can we do 2 questions? And he'd be like, nicest in the world. I'd be like, no, 1 question. I'd be like, okay. And then Frank was as serious as you can get. And as, serious, but also, like, I'll tell you this about Frank that many people would never give him credit for. When they lost in Chicago, like, 5-1, should have been 5-0, but like something like 5-1 on like a July game. Oh God,
miserable.
Guy answered 3 questions and stood there and took it. So I always gave Frank a lot of credit for that. You don't find that often when you've been embarrassed and outcoached. Stephen was great. Stephen Glass was great. But you find a common thing with a coach, and you can, whether you're going to annoy them or you're going to be fun about it, like, it's all about the relationship. And it might take us a minute, but, like, we're going to get there. I know it.
Chiefs coach Steve in our chat says that the Atlanta drink is Hunch Punch, which is kind of along the same lines, because it can be tasty at first, and then you realize how much stuff is in it.
Uh-huh.
What is Hunch Punch? I've never even had it.
That might be a Southern thing.
Yeah, well, when you're in college and you're having the big mixer on the floor or at the house or the apartment or whatever, and you just basically take all of the alcohol that you have in your place, and you just throw it into so you just throw it into one mix, and then it is what it is.
Got it. Okay. See, I went to college up north. We didn't call it that.
Yeah, Hunch Punch is what I always referred to it as.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever you have, but usually there's Everclear or Bacardi 151 was the sneaky one for us. That would be buried in there, but then there'd be like fruit punch or Hawaiian punch or something
Hawaiian punch or high C or something that you put in there that's a part of the whole thing, and you taste the Hawaiian punch first. Yes. And then it comes from behind and it hits you in the back of the head and you are done.
That sounds scary.
That's how the game in Costa Rica felt.
Have you met Gabrielle yet in person? I haven't.
Have not.
No. Man of mystery, huh?
Yeah, I think it's going to be that way as long as it can be. I mean, I get it. They want to focus on the work. They don't want to deal with any distractions, anything else, and I can understand that, because the number one thing that we've heard from players so far is intense, and not just physical, like mentally intense, because they've been given so much information. Mikey Ambrose, I think, has been really great at explaining it, where under Tata Martino, it was north-south, straight lines, get forward, join the attack as an outside back. Under Gabriel Heinze, it's sometimes you're going to do that. Sometimes you're going to stay in support. Sometimes you're going to come inside and be a central midfielder. You've got to read the game. It feels like chess, and that's overload. So they've been like so deep in this right now that I want to see what it gets like when they do get into a regular routine and you have regular media interviews and we're starting to hear more from them.
Well, you know what I like about that? One thing I can say when I spoke to players not playing for Atlanta United in late 2017, but all throughout 2018, is they'd act like they knew who Atlanta was. Like, okay, well, we know who Atlanta is, and we're going to figure them out. And yes, you'd see a team here and there do it, right? They'd park the bus, do something really annoying, because they knew how Tata wanted to play. And now, granted, Atlanta United with Miguel and Joseph, they had the talent to run circles around most teams. But what I like about that is, like, it's going to make it really interesting to try to prepare to play against Atlanta United if what Mikey's saying is kind of the way that they're going to go. Because, like, how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, basically, you've got to prepare for everything and hope that you've dialed it up right. And I think that, when you have a roster like what Atlanta United has put together, knowing that you're going to be in multiple competitions, knowing that you're going to have schedule compression, knowing that you're going to have players called away, I mean, this is a very, very deep squad that is prepared for all of that, you would hope.
It's going to be fascinating. I'm so excited. I'm excited. I need to talk to some of these guys. I need to talk to Gabriel if he'll talk to me. I know he will. We'll get there. And I need to really
get the extra question ready.
No, like for me, it's like I go into everything with like that I have nothing to lose. And like I usually expect the worst. Like, hey, I started my career in a New York Rangers locker room with John Tortorella, who made ESPN for literally looking at you like you were the stupidest person alive and being like, your mic's not on. Or what?
Larry, that's a stupid question.
He could not have been meaner to the media. So like, I look at it like if he doesn't totally embarrass me, it's a win and I'm good. And like, there's very few, if not any coaches in MLS that will do that to you. So like, I'm always good.
All right, I'm going to ask you something that we've kind of kicked around all week long with some of the guests we've had. You get 3 picks for MLS Cup. So who will win MLS Cup? And you get 3 teams that you think can do it. Who are the top 3 for you?
Okay. It's hard because I have 5. Okay.
See,
because I had
got to narrow it down.
And Jason said I could only have 3.
Yep, you can only have 3. 3's a magic number.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that on Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, there you go.
Columbus.
Mm-hmm. They've been consistent.
Portland and Atlanta.
Okay.
And LAFC and Toronto.
Oh, I got I got one different one that you don't have.
Yeah.
What? Who?
Minnesota. The Loons.
Smart. Oh, and they're loving this. Like, they are loving. Adrian Heath is loving that no one's picked them for anything. This is what he lives for. Like, do not pick Minnesota. Because, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. They were, like 2 minutes away, or not 2 minutes, but like 2 goals away, or 1 goal away from doing it last year, or making their way. Like, you're right. Minnesota knows what's up.
I've got Columbus, I've got Minnesota, and I've got Portland. Those are my top 3.
You didn't say LAFC.
No.
They haven't won the big one
yet.
And they've been out physicaled in those key games late in playoffs. And until they figure out how to get past, being physicaled off the ball in big games, then no for me. No LAFC.
I might put Sporting ahead of LAFC.
Glamour. They're too soft, They're just like, they've got that fancy stadium. I mean, so do we. But you're right. They haven't like out-toughed people.
Philadelphia is right there, too, for me. Philadelphia is probably 4 for me. The East is so hard because, I mean, we're going to find out, I think, over time what Atlanta is. I think they can be a cup contender by the end, even if it starts a little bumpy as they're getting used to all the new faces in a new way. And that's fine. It'll be like 2017 in a way where it like started hot, then it got weird, then they were really good going into the end. That's kind of the pathway I'm thinking. But Columbus is outstanding. They do have injuries now that they're going to take some hits early. Philadelphia is really good. Philadelphia is really complete. Orlando's really good. The question about up top with Pato, is he going to be what DK was? We'll have to see if he can hold up physically.
And I think, too, the other thing with Orlando is I have the utmost respect for Oscar Pereja, but, like, I know it's got to just be bad luck, I guess. But his teams notoriously burn out. or like FC Dallas, so many years. Like, I mean, granted, none of his FC Dallas teams had the talent that this 2021 Orlando team has, but still, like, so good. And like, for whatever reason, fall apart at the end. And that's haunted him in Dallas. We saw it. I mean, after the MLS Is Back tournament last year, I was scared of Orlando. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? Good news is I don't think Miami's going to be too hot to, right off the bat either. I think they've got a couple years to figure things out. They go from one guy to now, like, really mixing it up with Phil Neville. And, I mean, it's kind of good news for Atlanta because I have no idea what's going on.
New England will be in the mix too. I think
Who'd you say?
The Revs. I think New England will be in the mix.
It's hard to really overlook like a Bruce Arena coach team because you look at what he did with them when he came in their first year, made them like zero to hero.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Wow. Now I'm scared.
It's going to be such an incredible season. I mean, it will be the most competitive season the league's ever had, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fire is certainly there. And I'm really excited that they're getting all 34 games in because, when you kept hearing that the season was going to potentially start late, that was always your fear of. You've also got a lot of teams like Atlanta United playing in NFL stadia, Nashville, Seattle. Like, how does that affect scheduling? Like, so 3 teams from Canada having to play and find new homes down here. Can they get all those games in along with international breaks? International breaks with COVID and what's the word? Quarantine rules, like when you land.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a little bit of a bummer this year to see how stuff's changing by the minute in one country versus another. Who can go play for their team? Who can't go play for their team? But aside from that, I think it's going to be a really, really crazy year. I'm just happy MLS seems to be like all on the up and up. Fans are going to be loud back. People are getting vaccinated. It was awesome to see the whole like Atlanta United team get vaccinated. So it's awesome to think that I don't have any inside info, but like I could potentially have a face-to-face conversation with a player this year.
Yes.
Like that is what I'm, and I mean that. I'm not even trying to be funny.
No, I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, you've got Atlanta at 50% capacity. Colorado is going to allow, I think, like 8,000 in. DC's at 25%, and you just hope that as things continue to go along and we get into the summer months, that those capacities will continue to grow and get to where we're having as close to full houses and have the environments that we're all used to and having the game days that we were used to having only a couple of years ago.
It's going to be great. I just hope and pray. Like, I think we're so scarred from last year that you like almost don't believe it. Like, wait, there's going to be fans. Like, I'm vaccinated. Some other people are vaccinated. Like, am I really going to get back to normal life? Like, are myself, Dan Gargan, and Kevin Egan really not going to have plexiglass between us? Because I think, I'm not totally sure what the league landed on, but I know it was a discussion of that once everyone is vaccinated, like, will we get back to a set where the 3 of us are just talking without glass between us? It's those little things that I am just so excited for. The nice thing is last year set the bar so low that honestly, just about anything can happen, and I am excited.
So we're going to see you in Atlanta next weekend, right?
Yeah. Yep. I get it. National TV game. But in my now 4 years doing Atlanta United on Fox South, now Bally's, is we have gotten one Orlando game, and it was last year in August or September. We got an Atlanta United versus Orlando game. Other than that, every time Atlanta plays Orlando, it goes on national TV. So, like, as a broadcaster, you like selfishly want to have those games. So, but I'll be watching.
It's going to be a fun one. Jillian, thank you for the time. We really appreciate it. We'll get you back on.
Thanks for having me. This is great. This is like such a good way to have my morning coffee.
See, there
you go.
So we're mixing it up this year, getting more folks on. So now that we've got you in the mix, we can throw your video up immediately, and we're good to go.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jillian. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Take care.
All right. Back to it to finish out a Friday edition of the show. We'll take your questions. We'll get caught up on Twitter. We'll get caught up on everything else. Frantic finish to a Friday show. What do we got?
Well, you got fantasy, too,
Yeah, I know. You need some help. I understand.
That's true. I do.
Yep. You don't have Franco Escobar in your lineup, do you?
No, I do not.
I know he's in there, which is really bad. I hope they fix this stuff.
Yeah.
Also, we have some of this before we... Marshawn Lynch has joined the Oakland Roots ownership group.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Skittles for everybody.
Hopefully. Growing up in the town, we could always count on the pro teams in this area, but with most of those ones that I grew up with gone, I knew the minute I heard about the opportunity to join Oakland Roots, it wasn't just something I wanted to do, it was something I had to do. That's awesome. He's going to be great for that group. They do some great stuff in the community. I'm really excited to see them in USL Championship this year and continuing to grow.
Yep. We've had folks in the timeline post their fantasy lineups, and when we get into that,
let's go ahead and jump into it.
All right.
Let's go ahead and get into it because I know you're chomping at the bit to get this help.
I am.
No, it's okay. I understand. I know you want to get off to a good start. Now, our league, remember, will start next week. This is a week to prime the pump a little bit and get into the flow. If you're in other leagues, I mean, you can have the same team in multiple leagues. Don't get me wrong. So you can do all of that. We'll have some prizes in ours. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure you're following Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Jason's posted the link multiple times. We'll continue to share it and get you into the mix. But get your team set up for this week, even if you haven't joined the SDH league yet. Get your team set up. You got until... You can do it whenever, but every game that starts, you're going to miss the ability to put those teams those players into your lineup. So get in this afternoon. We will always have a little bit of a segment. Usually it'll be on Thursdays where we go through the potential lineups. We'll talk about John's lineup. We'll double check him, make sure he doesn't have Carlos Guerrezo in after he's been transferred to Europe. We'll check all that. We'll check the injury situations as well for what we know at that time. You always got to be careful on injuries in MLS because you get a lot of undisclosed injuries and lower body injuries and a knock in training. And, so you got to stay in tune with everything. MLS has also posted, and I'm pulling that up now, their Week 1 positional rankings. And this is from @DraftKicks on Twitter. Another good follow if you're into the MLS fantasy. So goalkeepers... They start with Pablo Cisniega as the number 1 this week, then Joe Willis, then Jimmy Maurer, then Aloy Room, then Pedro Galese. Who do you have in goal, John?
Joe Willis.
Disrespectful to Cincinnati, huh? You think that Brenner guy's all hype?
At least in Week 1. I think that once again he'll grow into it, but I just don't. I think that Nashville's defense is pretty stout, as evidenced by future discussions that we'll be having when it comes to my team.
No, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It looks like we have a little bit of this. It's so breaking that it's breaking up the audio. We've got the Scotia CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinal dates set. Tuesday, April 27th, Atlanta and Philadelphia, 8 o'clock, and it will be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The return leg is on Tuesday, May 4th in Chester, PA, also an 8 o'clock kick. The late game on the first leg Tuesday, April 27th, Toronto hosting, and did they say where? I don't have it here in front of me. Hosting Cruz Azul at 10 o'clock. That's going to be awkward. Wednesday, April 28th, Columbus hosting Monterrey. That is an 8:30 kick, and then a 10:30 kick with Portland hosting Club America. Tuesday is the reverse, Philadelphia hosting Atlanta, Cruz Azul hosting Toronto in the late game 10:15 kickoff. Wednesday, May 5th, the reverse fixtures, Monterrey hosting Columbus at 8 o'clock, Club America hosting Portland at 10:15. Semifinals, August 10th through the 12th, and September 14th through the 16th for the second leg, so about a month apart, first leg to second leg. The final will be sometime between October 26th and 28th in a one-game winner-take-all. That is your CONCACAF Champions League scheduling going forward.
All right. I'm all for it. Hey, we got the games locked in. It's time to get ready to go.
Way to sell it, John. All right, goalkeepers. I did not go with any of the 5 from the fantasy lineup. I did not go with John's pick of Joe Willis. I went with Sean Johnson at DC because I have no respect for DC United this season.
No, right there with you.
When the manager says, I can't believe the fitness of my team,
yes,
and they were bad in preseason, I am all in on Sean Johnson in this game. And I am also all in on Anton Tinnerholm on my back line because I don't think DC does much of anything in game number 1. The back line, who you got?
Off of my Joe Willis selection, continuing my disrespect for Cincinnati, I have both Walker Zimmerman and Dave Romney. I have Chris Mavinga going up against Montreal and Segura going up against Austin.
Okay. I've got Tinnerholm. I've got Richie Larea disrespecting Montreal. I've got Brooks Lennon in the team today.
I had Brooks Lennon. I thought about it, but I was going to save him for next week.
Oh, sure, because that makes sense. I've got Brooks Lennon here, and I've got DeJuan Jones for New England going to Chicago because I think he'll get forward in the attack. I like defenders who can get forward and score you points in the attack. The rankings from Draft Kicks is Walker Zimmerman, number 1, Ryan Hollingshead, 2, Segura, 3, Tinnerholm, 4, Mensah, 5, Kyle Duncan, Yamar Gomez, Andrade, Jovan Jones, Miami against LA. I'm not buying that one. Jesus David Murillo, and Jose Carlos Van Rankin for Portland, a new right back who's on loan from Chivas. Value defenders, Tristan Blackman for LAFC, Donovan Pines for DC, no. John Nelson for Dallas against Colorado.
No,
and he might not play, and he's not related to this John Nelson, so it doesn't even matter, does it?
Exactly.
Midfielders, I'm going with 4. What do you have?
I'm going with 4. I have Pozuelo captained against Montreal.
Is he playing?
At the moment, he's got a green dot. If he's not, then obviously I'll change it.
There's a lot of people with green dots, John, that are not playing. Do you know he didn't play in 2 legs in CONCACAF Champions League, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you think he was just stuck at a Tim Hortons?
Yes, actually.
Fair enough.
Getting some Timbits, maybe to Swiss Chalet or...
you might want another option there. Just saying.
Well, and then Valeri against Vancouver.
Okay.
Santi Sosa. And
holding
Latif
midfielder
Blessing.
in fantasy? Okay.
And then Latif Blessing against Austin.
You have no respect for Austin. Matthew McConaughey doesn't like you already.
Not in this first match. I don't know.
No
As the
respect.
season gets a little further along, yes, but not right now.
No respect. I've got Lewis Morgan. I've got Christian Espinoza. I've got Jimmy Chara. And I've got Andres Ricarte. The hype on Ricarte is real out of the Texas folks watching Dallas in preseason. So I'm rolling with the hype. And I've got Ricarte. He's also $7.5 million, so I like the value.
Yes.
Midfielder ranks from at Draft Kicks. Morgan is number 1. Lucas Delarayan is number 2. Carlos Heel is 3. Atuesta is 4. Reynoso is 5. Valeri 6. Nani 7. Not buying it because I don't know how much he's got. Maxi Morales is 8. Edison Flores is 9. Pedro Santos is 10. Value guys, Anthony Fontana, Randall Leal, and Przemysław Frankowski for Chicago against New England. Fontana's
nice.
interesting.
Fontana's at 6.5.
Yeah, Fontana's pretty intriguing. I do like that suggestion. I've got 2 up top. What do you have?
2 up top, Rossi and Wanchope Abila.
Abila.
Okay. Wanchope Abila then.
Yes. I've got him, and I've got Carlos Vela. So we're kind of on the same path there. Vela and Rossi are number 1 and 2 in the rankings. Rui Diaz is 3. He didn't have a lot of preseason with them, and I got questions about Seattle, period, so I'm staying away from that. Gonzalo Higuain is 4, and I'm really staying away from that. Joseph is 5, and I'm staying away from that for now. I want to see how he looks and continues to go. Polito's 6. I'm staying away from that because I don't know if he's 100%. Gustavo Bo is 7. Darwin Quintero is 8. I was really close to putting Quintero in. Jossie Zardes is 9. Johnny Russell is 10. Value forwards, Corey Baird for LAFC, Freddie Montero for Seattle, Robbie Robinson for Miami. Who's your captain?
As of this moment, Pozuelo, but if he's not playing, I'll switch it to Valeri.
Vela's mine against Austin, so I do have a little bit of disrespect for Austin. Let us know what your thoughts are on the fantasy side of things. Give us a heads up. Jason Nix is saying don't help him. It's the only way he's going to learn. He was good last year. I got to try to throw him off, Jason Nix. He was good. Probably with some of our help, but he was good.
I was in the Pro Rel League last year, so I think I was like 5th or 6th or 8th or something in the Pro Rel League.
Did you do like the Liga MX side of things where you like bought somebody's franchise and got into the Pro Rel League?
Yes, actually.
Did you pay them in Timbits?
Yes, I did.
Very cool. Very cool.
I pulled the Mazatlan, and so I unleashed the Kraken. That's what I did.
Yeah, there you go. Ricky Ricardo is questioning your pick of Santi Sosa. You don't pick D-mids in fantasy, according to Ricky Ricardo.
Well, if they don't allow any goals, then them's points.
D-mids? How much points do you get for that? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but if it's like shutouts in other leagues give you like 8 points and stuff.
What other leagues, John? What other league are you talking about? Go ahead and tell us.
Oh, yeah, it's let's see. I've got. I'm trying to think how many.
What league?
No, I've got. It's in England, but I'm trying to remember which 2 I have. I've got a Premier League one and an EPL one, so I have 2 Premier League teams.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Have you checked the rules here? Midfielders don't get defense points, John. People are telling you this.
Damn it!
This is why we do this segment. Oh, Sam Williamson. I try not to, but man, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do here? Ricky goes with Willis in goal.
Yeah.
Zimmerman, Lennon, Mabiala on the back line. I like the Mabiala pick. Carlos Heel, Emerson Hindman. Interesting. Lucas Zelarayan and Bebelo Reynoso. In the midfield, and he's posting his forwards into the chat in a minute. I know he posted his lineup.
Maxi Urruti, Carlos Vela captained, and Rui Diaz.
He was typing and sharing it. Urruti and Vela and Rui
Well,
Diaz.
he posted it to Twitter before he did it there.
But he's over here, and it's all good. Join in. Yeah, Abby, join in. It's fun. I mean, there's all kinds of silliness that happens with it. You have a good week. We talk trash about it. You get to have a creative team name. My team is sponsored by one of the finest fast food restaurants in Costa Rica, Pollolandia.
Nice.
I wish I could put a logo in for my team because I would absolutely do it. It's the happiest looking chickens you've ever seen. I need Pollolandia to sponsor a team somewhere and have that on the front of the shirt because I will be all in on it. Perfect Tommy is starting fights with Canadians. Tim Hortons ain't that great. Fight me, Canada. John is a honorary Canadian, and he has opinions.
Yeah, well, it is a separate animal than I know that what we're used to with Dunkin' Donuts and that kind of stuff. But really, if you're a coffee person, Tim Hortons coffee, from everyone that I have talked to, says that their coffee is second to none. And I have been requested on multiple occasions with all of our contacts up in Canada to have Tim Hortons coffee actually imported here to the States so folks can have it, since it's not readily available, I don't think, in stores here in the southeastern United States.
Talking about formations in fantasy, PD says everyone changes their formation to 3-4-3, right? I generally do. I probably will. I'm kind of waiting to see first week how it goes. Not always. There are people who do well with 4 in the back. I think you have probably a better route to go with 3 up top, but I don't think it's a guarantee. A lot of it depends on I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, people who are way more into the fantasy side than I am. I usually end up jinxing players, so the people I pick, they're probably going to have injuries this week. Sorry, Brooks. That's what usually goes for me in fantasy sports, but correct me if I'm wrong here. I feel like in MLS fantasy, it really comes down not so much to the top guys, because a lot of people are going to have Vela, a lot of people are going to have a Lewis Morgan, a lot of people are going to have those, a selection of those top 10 guys. I think what really separates it is the starters 9, 10, and 11 on your team.
Yep.
Where you're hitting on those guys that are more undervalued. If you get those, that's when you're going to have really, really good weeks. As long as you're not blowing it with, a big money guy. You know, I mean, if you stick with somebody too long, if they get injured and you don't fix your lineup, stuff like that. But I feel like if you hit on 9, 10, 11 out of your starting 11, you're going to do really, really well. Matchups are so important, as Ricky says. Sam's telling me not to pick anybody from Atlanta so I don't jinx them. Sometimes I have to, man. I have to. Sometimes I do. Lots of different lineups are being posted in the Twitch pitch. If you guys are a subscriber on Twitch or a Patreon member, you do have access to our fantasy channel on the Discord where people can ask questions. I'll tell you what I know. Again, I'm not the fantasy expert here. Ricky's great at it. Dr. D's really good at it. John is much better than he lets on, but we do help him a little bit. We keep some of the things in check, like Pozuelo. Get an injury update for sure there.
Yep.
Double check that. People are asking about how to change formation and such. So lots of different things going on. There's a lot of opportunities that people want to help. We get competitive about it and we talk trash about it, but yeah, we want it to be a good competitive season. If you're new to it, and this is what it was for me with the NFL for the longest time, I paid more attention to the NFL as a whole when I was in active fantasy leagues with friends because I'm watching games that I might not ordinarily watch. I think that's the same for MLS. Yep. I do wish they did draft leagues. I do wish they did more of that. I think that format is better. I know in soccer, generally you go salary cap leagues. I want a draft league where, you're having to figure out who, okay, the top 10 forwards are gone. Who am I going to pick next? That kind of strategy. That gets you even deeper into knowing the league. But just doing MLS fantasy will make you a wider fan of the league, and you'll keep up with more players. And I think that helps you in general, if you're an Atlanta fan or if you're not an Atlanta fan. I think it helps you get deeper into it. And you start paying attention to your Andres Ricartes and your Christian Espinosas and players like that might fly under the radar, but you're paying attention to how well they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it comes down to knowing the league and your depth and trying to figure out matchups. For me, the first and foremost, it is matchups. Who do I have the least amount of respect for on a weekly basis? And you're going to have your core guys that you're going to stick with, knowing that the results are going to be constant. And by the end of it all, they're going to be toward the top of their rankings. But for me, outside of those guys that are a part of your core, it goes to those weekly matchups, like pulling in, a Toronto FC player because they're playing Montreal, pulling in, a Portland player because they're playing Vancouver, the Nashville players because of Cincinnati. Always looking for that. That's what it is for me out of the blocks.
Yeah, those things are essential. All right, John, what do we have on Twitter? What do we need to talk about that people have tweeted at us in a very busy, fantastic Friday show?
Very, very busy. Let's see. Okay. Tafka says McConaughey is the best possible spokesman you could ask for to promote Austin FC and MLS. Energetic and generally beloved in the United States, may even turn a stubborn head or two. He genuinely loves the game. Here's my question. If you could pick one more owner like that, who would it be?
It's hard to say because I think what separates it is he's genuine in everything he's doing. It doesn't feel like a bit. And look, Will Ferrell movies are funny. Like I enjoy him as an actor, but everything with LAFC with him feels like a bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not getting the passionate fan side of it from him. I'm getting comedy, which is good for the league. It does get attention. I mean, when your headlines are, Matthew McConaughey versus Will Ferrell for week 1, it's like, yeah, that's cool. But what about Tomas Pochettino and the players involved here? Can we talk about that? McConaughey, I feel like, is really invested passionately about his team and is going to tell that story. I want somebody like that. So I don't know who that would be from a celebrity perspective that would play it that way. You know, I mean, Tom Hanks. I believe Tom Hanks is an Aston Villa fan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And a fan, like a legit fan. You know, if he got involved in an MLS team, I could see him treating it with importance. And it's not that it's disrespectful the way that Will Ferrell does it, but it feels like it's for a bit as opposed to just being an owner and representing the fans. And McConaughey, I think, is absolutely hitting that right vibe for me anyway. I think Tom Hanks would do that. I think, you know, there's quite a few different, you know, musicians who would fall into that. I mean, we've seen it here in Atlanta with, you know, Jeezy. I mean, Jeezy keeps up with what's going on. When we've had him on Countdown to Kickoff, like, he keeps up with it. Waka Flocka keeps up with it. Waka Flocka was breaking down the midfield in the postseason in 2018. Guys like that who are just emotionally invested, not just financially invested. That's who I want. And I think McConaughey is showing that.
And for those who missed it, there's a great write-up on McConaughey and his investment into Austin FC over at goal.com. They did a nice piece on him. And McConaughey views his ownership part of Austin FC as the 100-year war. He knows that he's not in it just to dip his toe in, be there for a couple of years, and get out. He understands what it means to Austin, to the state of Texas, to soccer fans. I mean, in his in his marriage to Camila Alves, he's become a fan of Brazil on the international scale. So go to goal.com, read up what McConaughey was talking about when it comes to his ownership. But yeah, he's in it for the long term because he's into legacy projects now. And for this kind of legacy project to be starting, I just hope that the broadcast, I know it's on Fox, and I just have this innate fear that they're going to be focusing more on Ferrell versus McConaughey than they are LAFC and Austin and the game that's going to be on the screen and trying to draw the comedy and the bits into it. I want to stay as far away from that as possible in game. Yeah. Pre-game, fine.
I don't even want it in pre-game. Give it to me in post-game. I'll take it there. I don't want it in pregame. And Perfect Tommy, I hope they can be more than that. Tommy says they're figureheads like Jay-Z in Brooklyn. I don't get that sense from McConaughey. It feels like it's more personal for him. Or he's just a great actor, and that's the way he's spinning it, which is fine. I'll take that. I'll take that over the figurehead and over the kind of jokey thing about it. If somebody's going to get into it that way, I hope they do take it seriously. And Shiva makes me sad, but Shiva's 100% correct. If Kobe Bryant was alive, he would be like that.
No question.
If Kobe bought into a team, he would be taking it seriously and would really be emotionally invested into it. I hope we get more people like that. I hope that we get more in the league like that because that's what converts people, like Tafka said. Jokes don't convert people. Like McConaughey being passionate about it, that will convert people to follow it. I need that.
Yeah. Day is in, and Day's putting a whole case of Martinelli's on an Atlanta win and a clean sheet at plus 525.
Wow, that's a lot. I don't know about that one. A clean sheet doesn't blow me away, to be honest, because they've been so good defensively. I do have questions about what Orlando looks like with some of the new faces and how they incorporate them. The one thing that I think has been consistent, and I didn't get to dig into it when Jillian was with us when we talked about Orlando and how they've wilted. I think this is something Oscar Pereja has also done, where he gets more conservative later in the year. Early, it'll be all guns blazing. But later in the year, they kind of tighten up. Maybe it is because they burn out. Maybe it's because they get tired, they get worn out. But I also look at his tactics getting more conservative. And that's going to be something to watch with Orlando all year long. But early on, they'll be wide open. I just don't know if Nani's 90 minutes fit. I don't know how they incorporate Vanderwater, the Dutch winger who's come in from Heracles. Alvarado, the Ecuadorian winger, joined late last season. Mueller, Benji Michel, Alexandre Pato. Like, what does the front three look like? Because I'm expecting Mauricio Pereira to be the number 10. Who are the two holding midfielders for them? Is it Pereira with Uri Rosell being injured? Is it Pereira and Junior Urso? They've got questions in the lineup because they do have a lot of talent, but how does it come together early on? I don't know. I do like Atlanta defensively. I worry a little bit more Atlanta against their defense, but if they're missing Janssen and they're missing Moutinho, maybe I shouldn't worry so much. There's so many different elements to this game that game one, we got a lot of unknown quantities going into Atlanta-Orlando.
Let's see. Ropes and Four Card and Tofka have posted their lineups to Twitter. I have retweeted those.
Very cool.
For folks to compare. And Tofka did have a point, and I thought that MLS did this, but Tofka says, well, and I'll get to his fantasy point before I get to his talking point here, clicking on the wrong thing. But Tofka says, hypothetical fantasy question.
Okay.
He would want the scoring algorithm adjusted, but until it is, how would you feel if part of a fantasy lineup selection is to choose 2 or 3 score multipliers for selected players? Feels like scoring gets stagnant with 2 similar rosters.
It can, and that's generally why I don't like salary-capped fantasy leagues, because you can have a bunch of rosters that are the same. I like the draft league where, Carlos Vela is only on one team. I prefer that way of playing fantasy. You could do some different tweaks to it. You could add like a vice captain kind of thing that would be another multiplier. That'd be kind of cool. There's some other elements like that you could add to break up the stagnation. I'm with Tofka on that idea that it does get if me and John have pretty much the same lineup but maybe like 1 or 2 players different, it gets a little boring.
Yeah.
But then you can also trick yourself in trying to find the player that nobody else is going to have to try to find that separation and take an unnecessary risk. So it's tough. It can be tough. I'd like to see more separation created into the game. I'm with you, but I'd just like to see draft leagues, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Tofka says, let's just be honest. Everyone except Montreal is going to be a totally unpredictable season for match results this season. If you cut Montreal out of the equation, I think this will be the smallest table gap from first to last in league history.
I think Montreal will be unpredictable, too. And I'll put DC in the mix with Montreal. Those are the two that I don't expect anything out of in the East, but they'll both jump up and bite people because it's MLS, and we see that. I think maybe I'll go a little bit further. I think the point separation in the Eastern Conference between 1 and 10 will be the tightest it's ever been. The separation between 1 and the first team who misses the playoffs will be pretty short.
We talked a little bit about, with Mike, roster adjustments possibly happening for Atlanta United. The Colonel asks specifically about roster adjustments to add Josh Bauer. He likes signing him. Bauer reminds the Colonel of a larger Michael Parkhurst.
Yeah, that was one of the comparisons that was out there going into the draft. I love where they got Bauer, and I love that he's earned the contract. I don't think they needed to make any roster adjustments because I believe Bauer will go into a supplemental spot, which they had some to work with from what we could tell. It's unknown because of MLS not posting anything yet, because it's not, they don't have to. The rosters are not compliant yet. But what I had kind of predicted coming in, you've got 4 and 6 in supplemental spots. 4 of the first category and 6 of the next. 6, the bottom 6 are mostly homegrowns. If they're not, they have to be very young on a low salary. The supplemental 1 spot gives you a little more room to work with. I think Bauer will go into one of those 2 slots. Lundgaard signing a deal with MLS could be in a supplemental 1 spot. I think he had been in a supplemental 1 spot before. The first supplemental group's not technically supplemental 1. That was the only way I could really divide them up. Bello right now is in a supplemental spot. And when he signs a new deal, if that happens, then he'll go into a senior spot, I would assume, or a U22 spot. Mikey Ambrose was in a supplemental one spot last season, so I would assume he'd be in a supplemental spot here in Atlanta. Campbell and Morales are going to be in the homegrown spots in that second supplemental category. Machope, I would assume, would be in there. Tyler Wolf, Jackson Conway should be in there. Lisandro Lopez, it had been reported, I know Felipe Cardenas had it, that he would be in a supplemental spot. So you should have one of the senior supplemental spots to work with, if we want to call it that. Bauer could go there if he needed to. I think in the other 6 spots, Bellows in one, Campbell's in one, Morales is in one, Wolf and Conway are in one, so you have one of those two. If Bauer qualifies, he could go there. Those aren't going to affect anything big. You've got open spots to work with. So Bauer signing doesn't change anything else. Kubo Torres is a question Sam Williamson asks. I don't know. He wasn't in a supplemental spot last year. He could be in one this year re-signing, but we don't know that yet. If he is, then Bauer might go into the other spot. Also, you could see some of those supplemental, the other supplemental guys, like Morales, for example, who I would expect to play with Atlanta United too most of the season. He might be loaned to the twos for the season and open up a supplemental spot.
And then the last one on Twitter that catches us up.
Hold on one second. Thomas Jewin is pointing out what MLS.com has right now. I don't trust it at all. And it's just because it's constantly changing on their end and what they're putting in. It might not be accurate until the compliance deadline. I'm not trusting what's posted. Even then, double check it, because they've had some big mistakes in what they've publicly posted before. Right now, they've got Ambrose, Lopez, Lisandro Lopez, Lundgaard, and Kubo in the 21 to 24. So I'm assuming they have information on Kubo because he was not there last year. Wolf and Morales in 29 to 30, which you get 29 and 30 in terms of your roster spots if you have a certain number of homegrown players, which Atlanta United qualifies for. So they would be there. It's the 25, 26, 27, 28 would be the question. Bauer will go into a supplemental spot. He won't take up a senior roster spot. I just don't see that happening. Okay, final one on Twitter.
Final one on Twitter comes from Ropes. And yesterday, I guess Ropes was watching Europa League coverage. And Mark Fishkin up in the Northeast wanted a Golazo show, but for MLS, please. Ropes asks, who should host it?
Let's see. So it'd probably be like Saturday nights, because that's the night that has games going on at the same time primarily. You need somebody in the East and the West because you need a Western Conference takeover at the end of it. This Saturday we don't have that, which is weird. Who do I want to put on that? See, it's hard because it can't really be anybody who's calling games for a team. Generally, unless you're going to have rotating people through it. Like I'd put Callum Williams from Minnesota on it when he's available because he'd be hilarious. Yep. Max Bredos when LAFC is not playing would be hilarious in that kind of role. I don't know. I got to think about that. Susanna would be fun in that role. Susanna would be fun kind of bouncing around from game to game. Susanna Collins. Yeah, I got to think about it. I'd love to see that Saturday nights. I know, like, way back in some of the earlier MLS internet days as social media was starting to pop up, you had some people trying to do that from an audio perspective, and it wasn't consistent, but it was pretty fun when it really clicked, and you had people at the different games, and they would chime in with what they were seeing. I'd love to see something like that. It absolutely would play really well. I think people would be really excited about it. The Cooligans would be really good at that, Ricky Ricardo. That's true. They'd be a good fit.
You think Nico Cantor's busy?
He's busy. Yes, he's in London, too. You want to make him have to stay up for the Western Conference games? You crazy?
Maybe
he's in London.
Just have him get up for the Western Conference games. Take a nap, be there for the Western Conference games.
Can you let him sleep?
Yeah.
Let that man have some kind of a normal life. Jeez.
Champions in Europa League would be over with, so they wouldn't have to do Golasso.
I mean, if he comes back from London, sure. But while he's in London, man, I'm not putting him through that. That's crazy. Well, Ropes, I mean, Nico works for CBS. They don't have the MLS rights right now. So hopefully soon. Turner Kirby, thank you for your subscription. You rock. Gracias. No update on the Mateo Sosetu situation, Mr. Fantastic. I don't know what they're going to do because I am assuming that they are not roster compliant as we speak. They're going to have to make a move. Miami's going to have to make a move. DC, it looks like they're going to sign Nahar. Those are the ones that I've kind of had on my radar today to see if we get any kind of an update here. But nothing yet. Nothing yet. Sam Williams, man, this would make me mad too. I did not hear it. Whoever commentated on the Manchester game yesterday kept saying Cavani was Argentine. Oh. Oof, that's not good. That's the last thing you want to do is call an Uruguayan Argentine. It's no good. And Jason Nix says there's an interview with Joseph on CBSSports.com, and he blamed Peruvian food for his weight gain, apparently. That might be accurate. If you've had Las Brasas in Decatur, you would know what that's like.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yes.
And I can say that.
Yes. Modaflow is offended about the Cavani situation, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Burned recommends Daniel Slayton for the MLS Golasso show, which we have to steal the name because it'd have to be something else because we can't infringe on those trademarks, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Other things from the Twitch pitch, go ahead and throw them in. We're going to finish with basically a little bit of a Q&A as we wrap, as we frantically refresh and see if we have updates on the Blaise Matuidi situation, on a lot of different things. Oh, Jillian Sakovitz is looking for an MLS Fantasy League to join. Go ahead and tell her because she can join our league.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
everybody tweet to Jillian.
Tweet at Jillian and tell her we told you to.
Yes.
She'll love it. She'll love us. She'll be happy about it. All right. Yes, I know, Dr. D. The minute we say we're done and click off is when news will break, because that's what happens. Jason Nix, we are not broadcasting from the Benz tomorrow. We are broadcasting from the 92.9 The Game studios. It's a little more complicated to get into the Benz these days. So, no, we will be at the studio at 92.9. We're not able to travel until at least the, not so much second half of the season, but after that May-June break, that's where they're going to reassess potentially having travel. So, yeah, we cannot do that right now. Let's go backwards quickly. No Pellegrini news. No update on Dom Dwyer. He is training with Toronto, but nothing there yet. Mazzano, really good on this day. 2014 was when Don Garber was in town. Arthur Blank flew over on a helicopter.
There were helicopters and everything.
And, yes, there were helicopters and everything. And all the kids were excited because Atlanta was entered into Major League Soccer officially. The news had been out there for a while and had broken for a little bit. But the official presentation was on April 16, 2014. It was very cool. We were somewhat involved with it, with soccer in the streets and doing different things. So it was cool to be in the room. It was cool to be part of that. So, yeah, that's crazy that it's 7 years ago. And we're entering into season 5 now for MLS. Yes. Can you count to 5?
Occasionally.
Sam Williamson says, who will Chicago do this year? I just haven't heard a lot about them this offseason. I'm assuming how. Chicago is one of the teams that I'm a little mixed up about because I think they have the talent in most years to get into the postseason in the East, but this might be a year where they're better and still don't get in because I think the East is so crowded. They didn't make any huge additions. They did add some folks really early in the offseason. I think they have a good core. I think they have a really good core. I just don't know if they can take that next step because they were good, not great last year. They've got a great goal scorer in Beric. I don't 100% trust them in the back. Goalkeeper's a question mark for me. I like Pineda at center back, but the pieces around him are unspectacular. Midfield is great. Can Fabian Herbers be as good as he was last year? I'm not 100% convinced of that. They have a lot of questions, and I've got them in that like 6 to 10 range. I just don't know where they fall. Mr. Fantastic says Eric Lopez possibly won't be getting playing time. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the situation with Eric Lopez. I think the expectations for him have been heavily inflated. He had 4 goals in Paraguay in a handful of games before coming to Atlanta. Good, definitely good, but a very small sample size. He's young. He's, got to adjust to a new league, a different kind of league, a league that plays differently. He's got bigger expectations here. He's going to have to compete for the spot, and it's not going to be handed to him. I think the idea that he would come in and start day one, I don't know where it started. I really don't. I feel like we've talked about his run in Paraguay a lot because of that, but it's a fact. He's got limited experience. He looked good in the CONCACAF Champions League game against Club America, which they were kind of walking through to a degree because they had a 3-0 lead. So it feels like the expectations are unfair in setting him up for failure, which isn't fair to him. He's young. Give him time. Have some patience for the guy. And if he earns the time, he'll earn the time. If he needs more time to settle, then he'll need more time to settle. But he doesn't have to play and score 10 goals for this team to be successful. You just want him to continue to develop. And if that puts him on the field, it puts him on the field.
Nope, I'm right there with you. And I think Chicago, I've seen a lot of mixed returns.
Okay.
Well, no, it's like I thought you were going to other things.
You said nope. I'm right there with you, so I didn't know what that meant.
No, I'm with you where Chicago's concerned. I think Chicago's getting undersold by a lot of folks. I think that, I've seen folks sit there and have Chicago as a team that's not going to be a part of the playoff discussion in the East, and I've seen folks sit there and say that they're like the Eastern Conference equivalent to chopped liver, and I think that they're being undersold a lot. I think that there's talent there that can have them as a part of that second tier chasing after a playoff spot down there toward the bottom of the playoff rung in the East. I think that the folks that are not giving Chicago any credit toward being a part of the playoff discussion, I think they're underselling Chicago a lot.
I think they might not make it.
I think they're a part of that discussion at the 6-7, but I've seen folks basically sit there and say, no, they're going to be down there with Montreal. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Who did that? I haven't seen that.
I forget who it was, but there was some folks who were putting them way down the list in the Eastern Conference. And I'm like, no.
I haven't seen that. I've seen them generally like 6 to 10, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. I was going to look to see where they could be. The power rankings are out for MLS, and this is from our friend Sam Jones. He's got Columbus 1, LA 2, Portland 3, Philly 4, Minnesota 5, New England 6, Orlando 7, Seattle 8, Toronto 9, Atlanta 10. Talking about Chicago, he's got them 19 overall. So I don't know where that would fall in the East. I'd have to do math, and that's hard to do at this point. 19 feels a little low. I think he's got Seattle a little too high, but we've talked about that all day. Sounders will probably prove everybody wrong because that's what they generally do. Sean Vergara, who should get the next expansion team? Vegas or San Diego? Don't discount Phoenix, but I would, if I had to bet right now, it'd be Vegas.
Yeah, with everything that we're seeing that Vegas is hosting, and the Davis family investments in franchises in various sports and trying to have Allegiant Stadium as that hub of operation for Vegas as the new thing. I think that the Davises would make an absolute push toward having MLS there at Allegiant.
Stronger conference this year, East or West? Dr. D asks. Top to bottom, East. Top heavy side of it, West is right there with the East. Minnesota and Portland are right even with Columbus and Philadelphia for me in terms of a top 4, 2-2. But when you get to like that 6 to 10 conversation, the East is a lot better. I think the East is going to be more competitive. Mr. Fantastic says, do you think an MLS team in Vegas would be a good idea? I do. I do. I think Vegas as a pro sports hub is a good fit. You kind of wish you'd gotten in there first, like what you're doing in Austin. I think that's a really good help. Columbus didn't fully take advantage of that before the Blue Jackets came into town. Austin will be the number one team in town, which is exciting. I know Texas. I know the University of Texas. I know. But in terms of professional side of things, Vegas, you got the Raiders now, but they're new. So, how embedded are they with potential casual fans? Big because it's the NFL, but are people, like ride or die? The Golden Knights have done pretty well. Are they going to continue that? Is there a whole lot of crossover between those fan bases? I don't know. I think you do still have the ability to come in and grow a fan base really quick and be, Vegas's team. That's what would make it successful. I do think it could be successful. Burned on Chicago, I think they'll be good. Probably get a boost from playing downtown once they get fans in the stands. I agree. I think I really could see a situation where Chicago is much better than last year and still misses out because the East is so talented to me. Let's see here. Do we see anyone being loaned to Aberdeen with Glassy, Sam Williamson asks. Conway, maybe. He's one that a lot of people have speculated on. I could see it. He was born in England, so that would help him from a work permit situation, which is a little tricky at times. So that would smooth that out. And obviously, Stephen Glass knows Jackson Conway really, really well. I think if you loaned him over there, it would have to be with an expectation that he would play. It wouldn't work to send him there to not play.
Right.
And that's the question. I think Stephen would be a good judge of how he would fit into that team straight away. So I don't know if it happens. Well, it can't happen right now. It would have to happen in the summer. And some of that will be down to the business that Aberdeen does going into next season. So let's wait and see. But Conway makes sense, and a lot of it is down to being born in England and the work permit issue being really simple. A lot of talk about the Eastern Conference and how it could shake out, which is exciting. Turner says, can you draft fast wide receivers in MLS? Absolutely. Every single time. Ricky, I did not see the gripe, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it in general. The Nations League schedule being in Denver, the semifinals and the finals. U.S. folks are not happy about it. Reportedly, the Federation's not happy about it. It's a CONCACAF decision because it gives Mexico an advantage. The U.S. training camp will be in Europe because most of their players will be in Europe, and then they'll be coming to play at altitude. Maybe they have to change that. And Mexico will have the advantage playing at altitude. But it's CONCACAF's decision, so I don't really know what you can gripe about. I'm a little surprised. Denver isn't – well, no, I mean, I'm not surprised in your reaction to it, like Denver's a bad choice. Denver's a good soccer city. I'm just surprised because CONCACAF hasn't done a lot in Denver. That's all. What are you surprised about?
For me, when it came to looking at Denver, I looked at Denver as the soccer city first. It's like, and it's something that if you want to try to continue to foster relationships, especially in different cities, to do things and build these relationships out in CONCACAF, I know that you could sit there and put something in Houston, you could put something in Los Angeles, put something in Central Florida, put something in a large media market, and you know that folks will be there. But if you're CONCACAF and you want to try to expand what you're looking for and look for possible venues for tournaments down the line, to kick the tires on something like a Denver, that is a quality soccer area, that it made sense to me to do something like that. Yes, it is off the beaten track a little bit, but I looked at it as CONCACAF trying to solidify another market as a part of their dossier when it came to hosting tournaments.
Yeah, we'll see. Burned asks, do you think Vegas will draw fans like Atlanta and Seattle? See, I think those two are really different because Seattle has a bigger native soccer community than Atlanta did. Atlanta has a good-sized one, I think a better-sized one than people thought, but Atlanta's also done really well at creating new fans and drawing new people who'd maybe never been to pro games in. Vegas would need to be more like Atlanta because the soccer community there is smaller. I think just the native community in Vegas is probably smaller because it's so transient, which has some correlations with Atlanta as well. It would have the effect, and I always remember this after Atlanta won MLS Cup, people of so many different walks of life saying Atlanta United made them feel more connected to Atlanta. And it could be people who moved here recently and are fans of other teams rather than the Falcons and the Braves and the Hawks, and this was their Atlanta team. It can be people who have lived here for a long time but are from other countries, and this made them feel like they were at home in a way, the reaction to Atlanta United. It could just be the absolute incredible diversity at games. It galvanized the city in a way. I think a team in Vegas would need to do that and really truly be Vegas's team. Maybe people feel like the Raiders are, the new guy moving into town. If you start a team, you'd get some of that Golden Knights effect where you can be Vegas's team. That's what you would have to do to make it work.
Yeah. For me, it would be following the Golden Knights model of how they embraced the Vegas experience. And you see how you're attracting the casual fan who's there doing other things, but at the same time, you're having the Vegas elements that make it that Vegas experience. Because if you've seen a Golden Knights game, they have all the pomp and the circumstance and the pageantry and everything that's glitzy and glamorous and very showy. And so they're putting their own stamp on it. And what the owner, Bill Foley, decided to do from the absolute beginning was be instantly competitive. He invested in building an arena, invested in bringing in talent, was right up toward the top of the salary cap, and bringing in experienced players to put a winning product out there. Because at the end of the day, chasing after trophies is what is going to keep people coming in after that first time, in addition to all the pomp and the circumstance, if you're a casual fan. So you bring them in that first time, like we talked about last night with the guys on the round table. You bring them in that first time, you present a good product, you keep them wanting to come back. And I think that's what you look at here. But I think that if Vegas comes to the fore, it's following that Golden Knights model of bringing somebody in the door the first time and then keeping them at Allegiant after the fact.
Speaking of roster moves, Sky Sports News just had a clip from Celtic interim boss John Kennedy revealing that Patrick Klimala, their striker, is finalizing a move to the New York Red Bulls. This has been rumored for a while. It's not breaking news in that we haven't talked about it. It's just kind of confirmed that Polish youth international striker Klimala is headed to the Red Bulls. Now, Celtic paid, I think Tom Bogert had it like $4 million for him, and he really didn't get anything out of him. Reported £4 million fee, 3 goals in about 700 minutes across all competitions for Celtic. Reportedly, out of European sources, Red Bulls are paying £3.5 million for him. It's an interesting spend, and they've got players up top that I guess you really like what Klimala could give you. As opposed to your, Barlows and Whites and guys who have been there for a minute and been all right, but been all right. Some final questions as we wrap up. Sean Vergara wants to know when the Soccer Down Here golf tournament is. Let's get everybody vaccinated first. Let's get that going a little bit further along, Sean. Maybe late in the summer. Maybe that's a target. We'll see what we can come up with. But yeah, we'll try to come up with something cool for that. Mr. Fantastic says, do you think Sacramento still has a chance joining MLS? I don't. Sadly, I don't. Because I don't think they're going to find the money and time to do it. And I think this might have been their last shot because they had been so close for so many years, and they never had the finances right. They never had enough money to make this work. I don't think they do. I think they're going to get bumped here, and I think all of Phoenix, San Diego, and Vegas are further along. And I think Louisville could even jump them. So I think this was their last shot. Let's see here. Will has a question, and you would know this more than I would possibly. How big is the population of Vegas? Like, where are they in terms of a TV market?
They've grown over time.
It's a little bigger than you might think. Is that fair?
Yes. Let's see where they are, because they've been traditionally in the 30s and the 20s. So let me see where they are currently. Vegas is currently the number 40 media market in the country.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was a little bit higher than that. So, I mean, not huge. Who's around 40?
Austin at 38.
Context. Okay. And everybody says, well, Austin's growing, and they're supposed to grow much past that here in the coming years. That was one of the attractive things about going to Austin. I don't know if Vegas is growing at that kind of clip.
All right. So I'll go five above,
go
five
up.
below. Just
okay.
Asheville, Greenville, Spartanburg's at 35.
Uh-huh.
Cincinnati's 36.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee's 37.
Okay.
Austin 38. West Palm Beach, Fort Pierce, Florida 39.
Okay.
Vegas is 40.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek is 41. Harrisburg, Lancaster, Lebanon, York, Pennsylvania 42.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville 43. Oklahoma 44. Birmingham, Anniston, Tuscaloosa 45.
Oklahoma City, 44?
Yeah, 44.
Okay. Huh. Okay. I don't know. Vegas, I don't know. Now I'm wondering a little bit size-wise, but I think if the ownership is invested, that's the thing that can make it work. You got to have the right owner to make it work. I think the money will clear. I don't think that's the problem in Vegas. I think it's got to be the right person to sell it.
Yeah, and I know that Bill Foley in the past has mentioned about bringing soccer to Las Vegas as a part of his portfolio.
Who is Bill Foley, so people know?
The owner of the Golden Knights had mentioned as a part of his portfolio, he'd like to bring soccer in. He'd like to bring Major League Soccer in as a part of his portfolio. But then once again, we've been mentioning the Davis family with building of the stadium and the Raiders and the WNBA. So there are owners there who are investing in the market in professional teams. So the money is there, I would imagine.
Yeah. Zen of Malarkey, which is one of the best names ever. Assuming Joseph leads Atlanta in goals, who do you think will have the second most? Moreno.
Yeah.
That's been my gut.
Yeah, because I know that the idea of Moreno being 10-8 or
you said Barco, though, John.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It's like we've been discussing the back and forth about Barco at 12-8, Moreno at 8-12. That's what I was thinking. You
said Barco.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're right there in that idea of the individual is going to be with 20 total ideas of goals and assists combined, 12-8 or 8-12. I thought it was going to be Barco at 12, and you have Moreno going with that bigger number.
I am not sitting on the fence. Marcelino Moreno will be the number 2 player in goals for Atlanta United.
And I said Barco, but what I'm saying is that in the discussion, I had Moreno and Barco as the 2 and the 3. I had Barco as my 2. Moreno as your 2.
Yeah, there we go.
Uh-huh. No, I was admittedly, I was torn between Barco and Moreno. You went Moreno as your 2. I went with Barco as my 2.
I wasn't torn. I think it's going to be Moreno. Nick Alifi, Vegas versus LAFC, the silver and gold derby. And Nick wants a silver strip. 1 silver strip on the Vegas kit. I can work with this. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be the Lights group that would have anything to do with it, Ricky. I know they've talked about it, and I know they've been involved in conversations, but I think there's another group that's talked about it as well that has nothing to do with the Lights. All right. Will said, was Denver the home of the Snow Classico against Costa Rica? Commerce City, technically, where the Rapids play. It wasn't actually Denver. Hopefully it won't snow in June. That would be a big problem for CONCACAF Nations League if it did.
Yeah.
That would be bad. All right. Final questions as I catch up on the scroll. What have we missed? Anything else? All kinds of crazy comments. Marvin the Martian has been brought up. Vegas Elvis and Soccer Moses and Santa United to collaborate. That's a good one, Ricky. I like that. That would be cool. We've got the kits out. MLS is posting this every week, which is good. What is your club wearing for week 1? That is out on MLSsoccer.com. I like it. And I'm going to scroll on to the end. So final call, Mr. Fantastic. Caden Clark for Red Bulls will be a dark horse for the league this year. I think for Young Player of the Year, yeah. I want to see how he fits into Gerhard Struber's way of playing. I think he will. I think Red Bull, as a parent organization, identified that he was their kind of player. So can he live up to it now that people know who he is a little bit? We'll just have to see. My dog Gwen is hiding under the table right now because of all the noise outside. She's not liking this at all.
No, has not liked it the entire morning.
She is not happy about it. Okay. Ricky Ricardo, and I think it just went on sale. Bad Bunny tickets are on sale, so get them quick.
Have fun.
Get them quick. Don't be like that. Don't be a hater. You can just say you're not going to go. I'm not going.
I'm not going to go.
Well, you were very rude about it and dismissive. That man put his life on the line in the WWE. You should at least give him that.
And I have repeatedly.
Why you got to be such a hater on Bad Bunny, man?
It's not my cup of tea.
That's fine. Nobody said it needed to be, but you don't have to be negative about it. I mean, you've got 100 or 1,300 people ahead of Katie Weaver trying to get tickets. And they're already gone.
Wow.
So, yeah. People like Bad Bunny. Don't be a hater, John. You don't have to listen to it. Just don't be a hater. There's a big difference. Big difference.
May not go searching for it, but I appreciate his wrestling skills.
You can appreciate that people enjoy his music. That's all. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Modify. I thought you were saying they were already gone because I figured they would be. All right. That's going to do it for us. Now, this weekend is a little crazy because we have a 2:30 start time to the Five Stripe Countdown on 92.9. So there will not be a traditional smorgasbord tomorrow morning. I kind of got to get ready for work and stuff.
Yeah, you're kind of busy.
Yeah. The rest of the day, our taping for Written on the Pitch got pushed back, so that's going to go out late this afternoon with Jessica Charman. The run-up will be at 7 o'clock tonight, live on Twitch, live on the app, with myself and Kelly Francis getting you ready for Atlanta and Orlando. Be on the lookout on Atlanta United's YouTube page for Countdown to Kickoff. I think 8 o'clock is when it's going to get posted. Mike and I put a lot of work into that, so check it out. That's going to be every week, Friday nights, on the Atlanta United YouTube page, the newly expanded Countdown to Kickoff show. And tomorrow we're on the air at 2:30 for Five Stripe Countdown. We've got a long pregame because kickoff is supposed to be around 3:20. We'll have the full-time report after the final whistle for an hour after that. Then we will have the debut, and I believe the name that has won this contest that everybody's been talking about on Discord is the Salty Takeaway.
Yes.
The post game show. With this week, it'll be John and Nick and possibly Jessica Charman. Jarrett is unable to be part of this week. It will generally be John and Nick and Jarrett posting their stuff about the game. And it won't be live just because of working everything out. It will be posted after the full-time report finishes. So that will be coming out. Thomas Jewin is very excited about his name winning. Everybody loved it when it hit. So, yes, Thomas Jewin, you win. You win the contest that you get like a Diet Dr. Pepper from John.
There you go.
That's what you win. He wanted the phone number to dial in, and nobody's getting that anymore. Not after Rusty.
No. Not after Rusty.
Nobody gets that number anymore. Sorry, Thomas. And then there is a good chance, depending on just everything from Saturday afternoon, there's a good chance there will be a SDH asado on Twitch for all the MLS games Saturday night. Even if I am just sitting here kind of like, bleh, I'll try to react to things as they happen. So Saturday night MLS action on Twitch is a very, very good possibility for a watch-along. Turner, we believe that the full-time report will be on podcatchers. It was last year, even with the other issues we've been having with podcatchers. It should be. Fingers crossed. We are trying. Unc, is that actually confirmed? I have not seen that. Uncle is not happy that it might be Alexi Lawless on the Twitter broadcast for the game on 2-Day NA tomorrow with Atlanta and Orlando. Generally, it hasn't been Fox personalities on that. It's been fellow 2-Day NA personalities calling those games.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Will, you're confusing people. Now we know. And I have not seen an update on the Aiden Moore situation, Mr. Fantastic, so I don't know. Caleb Porter just said it looked bad last night. I haven't seen
nothing out of the Columbus Dispatch since 6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in terms of an update, and I have not seen anything in terms of an update about roster compliance as I refresh one last time before we go, and there is nada. There's nothing yet. So stay tuned on Miami. Stay tuned on Atlanta. Stay tuned on D.C. and probably some other teams that we might not even know about yet in terms of roster compliance. That stuff could be very late in the afternoon today. We'll talk about it tonight on the run-up with anything that happens involving Atlanta United or Orlando, the opponents for tomorrow. So thanks for being part of the show this week. Thanks for all the guests who were able to cut some time out of their busy schedules for us. We will be back in different capacities the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend. We will see you then. Mucha platio.
Mucha platio.